Good morning, everyone. This is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and we are here with day 145 of Coffee and MTG, the morning talk show where we talk all things Magic the Gathering. And the first half of the show, we do Q&A and Magic discussion. Second half, we do some deck list review. So brew up your cup of coffee and let's brew up the Magic conversations. You see, I got the headphones on. You know that means I've got a special guest. I'd love to welcome everyone to the morning Coffee and MTG show, Laplasjan.
Hey, yeah, hey everybody. Hey John.
Former Eldrazi Tron master, current Devoted Devastation master, and
I think it's correct.
Something happened. Something happened, Laplasjan. Much to my actual absolute excitement.
I think you're the only one that knows, besides like one or two of my friends that we have played together. Because actually I played against you on stream. So yeah, you're the only one to know. That's the only thing.
Or are you gonna keep it is it a secret?
I mean, no, it's not a secret. I just suck at this, so it's hard to like announce. Hey, listen, everybody, I'm gonna get married. Hey, listen, everybody,
right.
I have played Amulet Titan last weekend. This is like not a.
So the deal is, for how many months have you been on Devoted Devastation at this point?
Generally speaking, I think I have been on Druid like for my whole modern life, let's say, because I have played like with some company decks for a long time. And I think that when Lurus was printed, I dropped playing Eldrazi Tron and I started playing Druid, and it was like very good despite the metagame changes and everything else. And recently there came like, I think, difficult time for small creature decks because of shadow printing, a new shadow. This is Scorch of Skyclaves, like Zendika Rising.
And we saw the last week, it was just the whole, I don't know, top 32 of the Modern Challenge was just shadow decks, basically, shadow and prowess.
I mean, yeah, I'm watching the results. I'm even writing them down somewhere, like calculating percentages and so on and so forth. So there was a weekend with probably Doomwake, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of Doom streamers. I know
we have a lot of Doom names out there. Yeah,
Doom Mirror. So Doomwake won I don't know, some challenge, PTQ, MCQ or whatever with red black prowess shadow, I think. And there was a ton of it. And in fact, they play tempo, so creatures as a clock. They play removal and discard, and it's impossible to combo off with O2 creature like right now. I mean, I would even beat through this like I did when more red black prowess with Lurus and Abbot of Keralkeep and so on were so popular. But people started using new tools to fight this shadow, and they have focused on white removal. And the white removal is probably the most difficult one to fight, because you don't have.
So you got hit by the splash damage.
Yeah, and so first of all, you have very bad matchup red black prowess, and all decks that came to fight prowess are coming with a ton of removal. So you are backfired by this. And I have faced like 1 or 2 weekends in a row. I faced like 1, 2, 3 shadows, giant shadow, red black shadow, maybe one regular giant. And even when you are lucky and you win like a couple of those matches, then you face like Ren and 6 and like Jeskai Flagstone's control. And Jeskai Flagstones is very bad. And for color control, is like, this deck is so consistent that it's impossible to say I have a very good record against them, I think, but maybe I'm wrong. So
really, even as an aggressive combo deck, you can't beat the deck.
I don't play Upsal spells or Neoform, so hard for me to say whether those decks have very good results. But I played like some other strategies, and like, let's say I tested Mono White Taxes, I tested some other things, Amulet Titan, and it's even with Amulet, when you, I think, really have a good matchup against Omnat decks, because finally, for example, you resolve Titan and it's probably game over, and still this matchup is close. I mean, they have tools to beat everybody, I suppose. So yeah, this is how it looks like.
Cryptic for forever or something.
I have lost plenty of games when I had like lethal damage on board from turn 4, and I never was able to attack. And it's like frustrating, yeah, of course, but it's like very, very difficult to do. And I faced like Sultai Uro, 4-color, red, black, white, green Uro, and there is a ton of removal everywhere because everybody is like probably still afraid of a shadow. So yeah, I think this is the case. Maybe when people will focus more on Upsal spells, on graveyard, and on beating control, maybe then removal will go away. But hard to say right now. Yeah, maybe I will come back to this later because I think there are a couple of reasons for every deck to become popular and disappear, and I think there are a couple at least more too here.
We see that right now in Modern though, like it's coming in waves. There's like the format. There's like a trend every week now. The trend last week was Shadow. The trend this weekend was definitely Titan decks. Yep. Both you represented with Amulet Titan and also a lot of these Elvish Reclaimer Titan decks.
Yeah, for everybody to know, maybe because you are shy and you don't want to tell because I lost the win in Modern Challenge against Nikachu. So yeah.
Well, the big surprise for me is like I go into this win in and I see your name, like, oh my god, I'm dead. I mean, I know my odds against the Luris devoted devastation deck is like 5%. I'm like, okay, well, we had a nice run today.
And we had a nice run, folks.
Yeah, that's we can wrap up the stream. But then you didn't reveal the companion, and then you played an Amulet. Oh, we got a chance. There's
a chance.
Yeah, yes. There's a chance. Whereas there's no chance. No chance in this matchup.
Surprisingly, so I mean, I suck at Amulet right now. I mean, I'm just like after 100, maybe 200 matches, and I still like make tons of mistakes. But I faced one Jant. And player first round probably was on Jant and Mulligan. I expect Mulligan to, I don't know, Black Engineer, Ren and 6 like to beat me. And then he have seen, oops, I have no targets for my Ren, for my Black Engineer, and they've lost. So this is surprise factor is very important. If your opponents are mulliganic, to Lava Dart and Ren and 6 and you play Titan and Dryad, this is cool. And I have faced 4 controls, 3 Omnat, 1 Flagstones, Jessica Flagstones, and Jant. So all matches that would be like very difficult to beat with Druid. And I have lost 2 matches, Merfolks and I guess Green White Heliod. So both I probably would won with Druid. So hard to say whether it's exchange. Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, Amulet dumpsters on Merfolk. Merfolk has game. Don't fear
They did. I will talk to my friend that maybe is even watching us right now because we are like exactly this one, Damian Postgalium. Yeah, so we are playing like together weekend events. Sometimes it happens. So he was watching it and he says, Merfolks, they suck against Titan, but you could not do anything more. So I know there's. I know there's plenty room to improve, but I mulliganed a bunch. You had good hands. I don't think I've messed up too much. I thought for 5-6 minutes discussing lines on one play and then probably passing even the turn. So it might happen because there is plenty of options and plenty of ways to make mistakes.
All right, good morning, Kyoka620. Good morning, Lord Magicus. Is this the second time Laplasjan's on the show? This is like the
probably
fourth time.
Probably third or fourth, yeah.
Yeah, we're always going to bring Laplasjan back. We live close to
each other. We live close to each other, so we might, hang around. Yeah, there is. If there are no questions right now, I mean, if I talk too much, you have to stop me because I give lectures. I talk to students, so I will always talk too much. So you said something about that Modern is right now is coming in waves. The way metagame is shaping.
1 week, and then there's a trend to beat the metagame of the past week, and then
of course, and it's
really rapidly. Changing, like genuine change.
But the problem, I mean, it's good. Of course, it's good when metagame is changing, when nobody's stuck within one archetype and they are either losing everything or just waiting for something to change. But there is one thing that worries me a bit, at least, because if you look at weak changes, that's fine. I mean, it's probably normal. But if you look at the wider picture, and I'm watching closely all the results from like leagues, preliminaries, and challenges and primary events and so on, if you take a look at wider period of time and you look at like 2, 3, 4 months, there is one thing that, for example, red-green Ponza, this deck does not exist. And this is not a case of this weak wave or last week wave that matchups became harder. but they did. Matchups became harder, and there were some cards printed that probably are not good for Ponza, and decks like Shadow are popular, and this is not good for Ponza. But still, Ponza 1 month and a half or 2 months ago, I can check in my notes, was a top one tier 1 deck.
Yeah,
it top
absolutely
8
was.
at all events and winning some events and 5-0 preliminaries all week long. And right now, this deck is, according to Goldfish, on 24th place, 1.7 or 2.3 metagame share. And this is something that you can be worried about. And I think I have shared this thought at my Twitter. Ponza got really good when Bloodbraid Elf got unbanned, when Pyromancer got printed in Modern Horizons, and later on they got
a lot of new
Clotis.
additions.
But if you look at this deck, like from today, you see that from Zendika Rising they got nothing, from Corset 21 they got nothing, from Ikoria they got nothing, and from Terrace Beyond That they got Clotis. And Clotis is last good printing from Ponza. And this is like 2-3 copies because you almost cannot play. You are online. Oh no, that's me. I see something on the screen that Magic Online will shut down. So what I wanted to say is that for like a couple sets, because 4 sets for Modern is a couple. For a couple of sets, you just got one good card that came in 2-3 copies, and your deck disappears. And this is something that, well, some people will say that this might be normal, but for Modern, I think it never was. That for 8 months, the deck from tier 1, top 1 becomes unplayable. And this is something that worries me because power level of cards printed gets so high so quickly. I mean, it's
in my opinion, one thing that made Ponza like incredibly strong is it had this I win card in the form of Blood Moon. Now, when we saw the rise of Rakdos prowess, just regular prowess, and even if everyone knows Blood Moon's in the metagame, they play around it. They can prepare against it better. And there's more red decks. It's much harder for them to leverage this card to the point like I started seeing them like shave it from the main deck or just put it in the sideboard.
Of course, I mean, there are never simple answers in Modern for such questions. Modern is probably too wide and too complex to give simple answers. So maybe besides like Ban Hogak, like everything else has complex answer. In the case of Ban Hogak, it's just yes. And speaking of Ponza, of course, metagame became different. Like Shadow is a very bad matchup, and so on and so far. Like for example, the control decks right now they play Ren and 6, and it punishes your Arbor Elf, sure, but you have Green-White Titan. That is should be very good matchup for Ponza. You have Amulet Titan, probably very good matchup for Ponza. And you have 4-color control, probably good matchup for Ponza. And still, Ponza does not exist.
Well, I think
this is the question.
This is the time for Ponza to come back, but people have to recognize it. It's just this last weekend that we saw Titan decks like take over. We didn't see that just even 1 week before that. It was like all Death Shadow and Prowess, which in that case the Ponza deck would get killed.
Wait, to keep up discussion on the level of, let's say, numbers or something like that, I will take a look at my notes. So I think that I will talk about some like numbers that might mean nothing, but I can say it in more details. Green-White Titan was a big player in Modern the whole October. And 4-color control was 2. And still, Red-Green Ponza did not exist. And this is the case. Like I'm not talking about last weekend's results because Green-White Titan already made top 8s, probably won tournaments, made 5-0 preliminaries, and consisted like created some part of the metagame. And still, Ponza did not come back. 4-color control was by far the best deck of last month, and still Ponza did not come back. And I expect, if I'm wrong, well, I will see it in a couple of weeks or days. But I don't think Ponza will come without any printing. And this is, for me, it's worrying and it worries me. And I think it's like not so good that Modern is changing that fast. If the metagame changes, sure. But if it changes that fast because of printings, I think it's quite bad news.
It might have been because of the printings. I think a lot leverages over the Blood Moon. I think Blood Moon is a huge part of their free win package. And if
but
they
don't you think?
And how good is Blood Moon against Eldrazi-Tron, for example?
But how good is Eldrazi-Tron? Eldrazi-Tron sucks.
Exactly.
So let's not compare.
So they can't prey on it. So
yeah, but I mean,
the
how
matches
good is
that
this?
they preyed on.
So let's put it differently. How good is Blood Moon against Green-White Titan?
Very good.
Quite good.
Very good.
How good is against Amulet Titan? quite good or very good. And still, you don't see Ponza. So maybe, let's say...
Because we still have a lot of prowess and we still have a lot of Death Shadow, and I think they outweigh them.
I don't think that there is that much prowess. I mean, I have taken a look at the whole October. I did not analyze like this month yet, but in whole October, there was a lot of red-black shadow, but the most popular prowess was mono-red, and it was like, in my opinion, like around 4% of metagame. So this prowess is not
4% of the winning metagame or 4% of the metagame. Because this is a deck I see a lot in the league, but not necessarily always winning.
Yeah, this is the discussion for completely different, like different talk. Like we need like hour or 2 hours to discuss what metagame wins and so on. This is not a question for right now. I mean, of course, there are many circumstances under which Ponza is good or bad, and I don't want to like make this Ponza stream. But this is just an example. This deck was top 1 a month ago. Right now, it does not exist. And the question is, what happened? Of course, many things happened, but maybe there is something in the fact that, for example, 4-color control got 16 or 20 cards in last 8 months. Ponza got 3. And in my opinion, this is the answer for it.
If you go back a year and a half, you can add Teferi and
of course, I'm not going back, because there is like I have made some analysis. You can analyze like 1 year, 2 years, and so on and so forth. But if you want to like draw any conclusions, you need to focus on something.
One way or another, the decks that are going to get the new cards are definitely going to get like rise higher in win percentage.
That's for sure.
Ugly Hood Rat, thank you very much for the 5 months. I appreciate it. So there's actually a question.
That's cool.
About. Okay, Mr. Laplasjan, how can I beat Titan decks when I am using blue-white spirits?
Oh Jesus, this is by far not the question to me. But if you wanna beat Titan, just face me in league. I still lose a lot against everybody. Honestly, I have seen people even main decking cards like, I don't know the name, Conjuring. This gray blue enchantment that enters the battlefield at draws. And when you put another land after the first one, you bounce it to hand or bounce the land to the hand. This is a new card from Zendika Rising that punishes ramp decks like very hard. Do you know this one?
No.
Something Conjuring. I mean, I can search for it.
I know you now.
You know?
What is it, everyone? The blue 0 enchantment. Second
this is gray and blue. Gray and blue enters the battlefield, draws, and then you.
I overstated this card.
Me too. I thought it would be great.
What is this card?
I will check for it.
Conundrum.
Jesus.
That's what it is. Confounding Conundrum.
Sorry, but I could not pronounce this like from my head. Confounding Conundrum. Okay, so I have seen this card even main decked by many people, and probably like blue-white Yorion Taxis or something.
Yeah,
first of all, it draws a card, then you can bounce it. You can bounce it with many things, and it is like unwinnable for Titan and green-white Titan decks and Amulet Titan and all the ramp decks, I suppose. I don't think it's
bad for. I don't know if it's so bad for the what's it called? Okay, it would be annoying against the green-white Titan decks.
I mean, you don't have your Titan triggers, you don't have your Flagstones triggers, and then you just kill them in the air. I mean, it does not take much time for spirits to kill.
Yeah, you don't have the Flagstone trigger.
Yeah, so I think this card is. I mean, if this comes to the point where you have to main deck such cards, or you just main deck those cards, then you probably got beat by a huge part of other decks in the metagame. But I think it's just a perfect answer. It is by far. I mean, it's much better against Titan decks than Dumping Sphere, because they just play around Dumping Sphere with some triggers and so on. And this one they cannot play around so easily.
And you get to draw a card out of it.
Yeah, and you can bounce it later if you play Yorion or some other shenanigans. So
if you're in blue-white, some other good cards available are Ashiok, Dream Render.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's
this
for sure.
One's not too popular.
One more unbeatable card for Titan decks, I suppose. I mean, if you don't have an RC, your deck does nothing. So yeah, but be careful. Don't use it as graveyard hate card.
Yeah, it's stupid.
As graveyard hate, this sucks, and everybody has tested it, and everybody failed. Everybody has failed the famous Sodek test.
Yeah, exactly. What else is there in blue-whites?
In blue-white, I don't know. Relic, Soul Guide Lantern, Tormod Script. They're
No,
all
for
blue and white.
the what's it called? For
I don't know.
the
Spirits?
amulet deck. Yeah,
Against Amulet.
spirits
You
against
can
amulet.
you can play Dumping Sphere. Why not?
Mhm.
You are still good at this, and this card does not punish you, so that's fine, I think. But there's no Tron, so maybe targeting like big mana is not too good of an idea. Those two I think are much better than Dumping Sphere right now.
Mhm.
No,
Where
no
were
Collected Conjuring. No, this one, don't play this one.
So how did you end up on Amulet Titan? Like you could choose anything.
You know what? In a politically correct way, this was the deck that I liked the most from decks I think are strong right now.
Okay.
And yeah, so this is the politically correct answer. So I have faced a lot of like red black prowess or some other stuff, shadows, and I have faced like a ton of control. What else? Yeah, probably this one. And I have seen Amulet winning MCQ, beating some control decks. So I thought, okay, if I want to beat Jaunt, if I want to beat control, so maybe let's start with a deck that has good win against both. But sadly, I'm testing in leagues and I'm playing like against Electro Dominance and Storm.
Yes,
like
you can play against anything in the leagues.
Times,
The leagues,
so
leagues make us look really stupid.
yeah, because my winning record on leagues before I lost this top 8 winning in against you was like 48% or something like this, not more than 50%. I faced like Electro Dominance 3 times, Storm 3 times, Just Ascendancy twice, and like how do I win against them? With Titan, it's difficult, but if the metagame looked like this, I would never pick this deck. And yet I finished with it, so I ask myself, what's going on? But I think it's just leagues are very random right now.
Leagues
or
are
maybe
very,
they have
very
always
random.
been. Yeah.
You know what? It's more random now because of in my opinion, the rental services. It lets people
That's for sure.
just quickly change whatever the hell they want. It's like, this deck doesn't work anymore. I'm going to try this deck. Oh, I've played
this
against
is not. This might not necessarily be true because if you don't have rental service, then people don't have money and they play whatever they have, and then you have all the decks in the world because somebody has picked the deck they liked and they like collected money fixes for them for like a year. But if you have rental service,
then the metagame is fixed. Like it doesn't move so quickly, and you can predict exactly what you're going to see.
But you probe this metagame with a very small amount of shots. You have 5 matches. So you don't see the whole metagame. You just see a small probe of it. And you still think this is like changing because you're facing different decks. And in the case of rental services, if everybody has money to rent everything, everybody will be playing some tier 1 or 1.5 decks. And they don't. One, because they might try to attack metagame from different angle, and second, because they still don't have money for tier 1 decks, or don't have money in rental services, or something else.
I don't know if you knew this, but like the Euro deck was actually outside the range of what rental services could...
I know, 1,050, 100 ticks or something.
Sometimes it's 1,250 ticks, 1,400 depending like on the build.
You cannot borrow this one if you don't have anything. And still, I don't like it, and I'm worried because 4 color control in 50%, not counting like fetches and shocks and basics, got printed in less than a year. And I don't think it's good. I don't think so.
Yeah, this is basically 2019, 2020, the deck.
2000. Somebody said, like, I was watching the mocks modern part, and somebody said, okay, we have modern history versus 2020. And there was like on board, it was Uro, Omnat, probably Ashok or Small Teferi Ren, Mystic Sanctuary, some other stuff, and casting Ethergast on Bloodbraid. And they say, okay, so 2020 is winning. They just skyrocket, if you use this expression. They just made the power level so high that you just can't play without them. You just buy new cards or die. I don't like this because it makes Modern look like a standard 2-0. I don't like this. Honestly.
Well, where was a good question somewhere here?
Yeah.
Someone asked me to ask you about Force of Negation. Oh yeah, ask him about Force of Negation. What do you think of Force of Negation?
I hate it as all powerful blue cards.
What's wrong with this one? Since when did somebody like win on turn 1 with Force of Negation?
win. You don't have to win with the card for it to get banned. I mean, did anybody win with Astrolabe turn 1? If your answer is yes, then I will say, okay, this card is fine. Nobody won with it. At the end,
there's a difference between proactively using a card and defensively using a card.
Of course, but still, the part that I like is that this card. Okay, I will make it similar. I like Veil of Summer very much because it helps me fight against 2 powerful blue decks. But I will put this put it this way: how do you tell this cost? Not the risk cost, but you don't take any splash damage. You don't take any risk by playing this card. The same is with Veil. This card is so powerful that you just have to play it. And the same story is with here. Everybody is casting it on turn 1 into Aether Vial, Amulet Titan, blah, 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 and so on. Why? Because every card from 2020 draws a card, especially blue ones. So this cost that you exile a card from your hand, it's nothing. This is a virtual cost. For decks like Ren and Six, Small Teferi, Uro, Omelette, and so on, this is like almost no cost for you, for blue decks. And it came into...
I feel like it costs something. It cost me one of my...
because you play Merfolks and you almost don't draw cards, but everybody who's playing like Teferi, Ren, Omnat, Uro, Icefang Coadle, and so on, Grove Spiral, everything draws a card there. You just... What's the cost of playing this card? I mean, it's almost 0 in my opinion. And one more thing...
It is 0 and we need it to be 0.
Not the casting cost.
Do you want this card banned?
The opportunity cost. Do you want to hear what I want to ban in Modern? Do you want to hear?
Well, let's start with this one.
No. Do you want to hear? Banned? I will tell you everything. Because it comes together. When this card is legal, I think Veil of Summer should be legal. Because power of blue decks is just too high. When this card does not exist, I think Veil of Summer is too good. One more thing, take paper and pen or something. I think there is like 6 cards at least that should be banned in Modern because of power level that is like much higher than everything else that exists. It's Uro, not necessarily in this sequence. I mean, not in this.
Not this non-priority.
Yeah, not in this priority. Like it should be Force of Negation. Starting with Uro, I think Small Teferi is also very bad for Modern. It's Mystic Sanctuary, Force of Negation, and Veil of Summer. And probably Ren and 6 too. But this is just my opinion.
Ren and 6?
Yeah. But this is just my opinion. I don't like that cards that got printed like in a year or so are just... Those are the cards that for many decks are just saying, okay, you've lost the game. Or, okay, I win the game. Of course, not in the sense that they are winning on the spot. But Teferi, if you land it against like control matchup, that's all. You just both play Hearthstone or something.
I have a question. Let's say you ban this card.
Yeah.
How do you beat Neobrand?
You don't, because Neobrand is... you still don't beat. I mean, do you expect every deck to play this card for Neobrand to be beaten in Modern?
I think you expect enough blue decks to exist in the metagame that Neobrand can never actually get a really good winning percentage.
I think that's a wrong assumption because, for example, when Hogak was legal, nobody said unban Death Rate Shaman because we have to keep Hogak in check. This is not a game that one broken deck forces another broken decks to exist. I mean, I don't think that turn 1 or turn 2 kills should be possible in Modern. So Neobrand should not be legal at the first place. So this is for me.
Okay, so you would say that if we ban Force Negation, we have to ban more cards like I don't know, Manamorphose or Simian Spirit Guide.
If you ban Force of Negation, you don't have the targets for it. You don't play Veil of Summer, you don't play Small Teferi because those cards are also banned. What a beautiful word this would be. I mean,
but what do we do about Neoform?
Nothing. It's banned. It's already banned. So
no, you banned this one too. We're leveling the play field. No turn 2 decks.
If your argument for Force of Negation for being decent is that Neoform exists, so if Neoform gets banned, you just ban Force of Negation too? No, right? No, because you don't. So this is not an argument. I mean,
the deal is so basically whenever a turn 2 deck pops up, we just ban it. This is your argument. There's always going to be something, you know.
But what's the win percent of Neoform against non-Force of Negation decks? Because if you say there is always something, if the deck has like 1%, one win percent or chance 1% chances to win or turn 2, that's fine. I'm okay with this. But if it has like 80% winning on turn 1, 90 on turn 2, undisrupted, there is something wrong. And it's not about like force of negation, discard spell, and so on, because you cannot force me to play blue. I will not, because I just don't want to. And if you force me to play force of negation because Neobrand exists, then Modern is very wrong. That's just my assumption, because I want to play different decks. Like blue is not sexy for me, so it's not.
I think Force Negation and Thoughtseize do a pretty good job to deal with Neobrand. I think both combined give Neobrand enough problems that they can't actually get off the ground.
Neobrand, looking from the whole metagame perspective, is not a problem. But if you look at people being angry that they have lost to non-interactive deck on turn 1 or 2, it becomes a problem. Why? Because Modern never supposed to be such a format. You want to play like turn 1, turn 2 combo, you go into Legacy. You want to play 25 turns game, you go into Standard. Modern should be something in between. And if it's not, people get angry. Mm-hmm. And why they get angry, just ask them, right? You can play deck that punishes Neobrand, lose to a bunch of other things. But if you play a different deck and you get just killed on turn 2, you just get angry, because Modern is not a place for those decks, I suppose. But it's just my opinion again.
It's a lot of people's opinion.
I think so too.
There used to be the turn 4 rule.
Turn 4 rule is, anymore. Turn 4 rule is bad from the very first assumption that Modern will not change in time. It will. Like power level will grow and so on and so forth. So you just cannot assume that Modern will stay the same forever. That's obviously not true, and you just cannot like keep. Okay, we need all turn 3 decks to be dead, because prowess decks can kill on turn 3. Burn can kill on turn 3.
I think is okay.
I think so too, but not because this is like some strange assumption. Just because how much interaction you can have with those decks, and how low is the percent of the times they get this turn 3 kill, and just because you have plenty more powerful options. You just have Fatal Push against Burn. If you don't do anything until turn 3 and you lose to Burn, where it's your fault. And if you lose against turn 1 Neoform, it's not your fault. That's the difference. And this is something I agree to or I don't agree.
It's if you lose on turn 3, it's probably because they just goldfish to it and you didn't interact.
And you had no interaction, because probably one blocker would be enough. One anything, or just one counter spell, one discard, anything. If you don't play any of this, then it's your fault. You play non-interactive deck like Tron or Titan sometimes, and you just did nothing until turn 3. It's your fault, but it's your choice to pick this deck. And against Neoform, you pick Tron, Titan, Druid, any green deck, maybe Spirit sometimes, and you lose turn 1. It's not your fault, and this is the problem. So, like in a nutshell, I think.
Hello, which decks have the least number of bad matchups? Like, what is the best against a totally open field?
Well, it's a question to me or to you.
Well, it's to both of us.
Both. Yeah, if I can start, I think that there are 2 ways. First way is get deck that is focusing on their own plan. Like, for example, combo deck, Amulet Titan or something else. You focus on your own plan. You don't care what do you face, honestly. And and you just execute your plan as fast as possible. And if you face decks that want to interact, fine, maybe you can beat it. If you face some slower combo, you win, and so on and so forth. But the other option is just to pick the best interactive deck, or just the best deck. 4-color control has matchup against everything. I don't think there is a single match they cannot fight against, because how well they perform. So I think, all the Omnats in the world. Full 4 of them. This one, exactly.
Tribal.
Yeah, so you just pick, and you have plenty of life gain. You have counter magic. You have very good late game with Field of the Dead and so on. You have 0 mana counter magic like Force of Negation, and you just pack into your sideboard every hate that you cannot target with your main cards. That's it. I think this is a right choice.
This actually also seems to be the deck that, despite most of the other archetypes moving up and down in win percentage, this one's like sort of almost always there.
By always you mean decks. For the whole month of its existence, right? Because this deck exists like for a month, 4-color version.
Well, I mean, we had Uro for quite a while.
Oh yeah, Uro.
This was just an addition to the Uro pile. The Uro piles.
I think it was something more, because Uro existed for like a long time, and it was like blue-green reclamation, band control with snow, then Timur's Cape, then Sultai control, and right now I think that all they have collapsed into 4-color Omnat Uro, because first of all, Omnat gave you very good life gain, mana engine, and life gain bust, and card draw engine, and so on, give you some extra win con, and they have like I don't know how to say it. Like they all have collapsed into this archetype because it consists of all the most powerful and broken cards. Like you have both play Teferi, Ren, Uro, Omnath,
Ren,
Sweepers, Field of the Dead, ramp spells, removal. It's everything you need. It's there, and I think Uro have existed, of course, for a while, and there have been plenty of Uro decks. But right now, I think they all are slowly collapsing to this version. I think that no other version for sure has such success, and probably there is no a single reason to play, like for example, black instead of red and white, in addition to, of course, blue-green, because black was usually to early removal spells. Like, okay, you push Shadow, you don't ramp them, but you play Puff, you play Teferi, you play some other stuff. You don't need it, and it looks like you really don't because of results that 4-color control is putting out there, I think.
So if I were to give an answer to this, what has the least number of bad matchups? What is best against a totally open field? I'll give a more defined answer than Laplasjan gave, because he said, something proactive, something interactive.
Okay, so my final answer is 4-color control, because it's like just the best deck, simply.
My answer would be Death Shadow. It's super proactive, can kill people very, very quickly, and they've just got Scourge of the Skyclaves.
True.
And they have like basically all the removal. You can go Rakdos. You go Rakdos for and Jund and play with Lurrus, so it has a really good grindy game. And you do have interact. You don't have Force and Negation, but you have Thoughtseize and Inquisition of Kozilek. Those things aren't bad, and it's very proactive.
I will put a small, very small disagreement here that Red Black Shadow or Shadow Prowess did not put a strong finish for weeks, I think, and in almost every Premier event there is 4-color control. So I think in almost if this deck is so powerful right now, it means that any other deck can't beat it, and it means that in any open field right now this deck would be the best. But that's again my opinion, and of course Shadow is just faster, so maybe this might be a factor too, because you can name a couple of decks that just beat Shadow. And I don't think you can you easily name deck that beat 4-color control?
Yeah, Merfolk.
Oh, okay.
I have 95% win percentage against this.
Okay,
I send them all this way. I played against 3 of them over the challenge. You want to beat that crappy Earl crap? You play Merfolk. You island walk through them. Okay. They cannot stand any of our cards. Our Aether Vials, Cavern of Souls negates like a third of their deck being counter spells. We have island walk. Make all the fucking zombies you want. I've got island walk.
I can't make a discussion at this point, but for Red Black Shadow, I mean, mono white taxes, very good matchup. Mono blue taxes, probably to Omnath, at least decent. Ad nauseum, if you play main deck ley lines, very good. Any Upsal spells decks with white ley lines, very good. Even without, you can play around one discard spell. You don't care about their clock, you don't care about removal. So I think there is a number of decks that beat Red Black Shadow Prowess. And I don't think it beat us.
They could play Leyline of Sanctity, then we play what's it called? Leyline of the Void.
Of course. I mean, of course, there are a couple of cards necessary to beat this deck, but I think there is a couple of strategies that beat Shadow, and I don't think there is a way to. Okay.
Oh, you're saying yeah. If we get to the core, because it said what had the least bad matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can agree with that. Like, the Omnath deck doesn't seem to have like a lot of terrible matchups.
I mean, let's face it. Let's be honest. Merfolks are tier 0. Let's not discuss Merfolks. Right? So besides Merfolks, like the other metagame, the other decks has some winning chance. There, I think that 4-color control is the king. Sadly, this is sadly the king,
and hence why it's $1,200 whatever dollars.
No, it's not because it's good in modern. Not at least not the only reason. It's so expensive because it plays all the broken cards.
All the broken cards.
Yeah, and it's like not only modern. Like if you take a look at Legacy, it's madness because there are like 20 cards that came into Snow Control into Legacy, like Shark Typhoon, Small Teferi, Force of Negation, Veil of Summer, Astrolabe, Ice Coatl, and so on and so forth, Mystic Sanctuary. And all those cards are very expensive because they play everywhere, because they are so powerful. So this is not only the case of, we have good modern deck, everything is very, very expensive, but also some of those cards still play in standard. You might not know because almost everything got banned in standard.
Okay, then we could go to macro level. All these cards see play in all the formats.
All the formats they are not banned in. That's how powerful they are, right? Look at Rened 6 price. It got much lower when it got banned, but right now it's playing in a lot of modern decks, so it's still high. Yeah, they play 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 the most expensive cards on MTGO. That's crazy. Actually, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna remind everyone that if you want to beat Omnath, that Omnath Euro deck or any Euro deck, you just play Merfolk. That's the answer. That's the medicine.
Why I didn't get this idea? Exactly, Merfolk is the answer. Merfolk, but you lose to Heliod, for example, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's terrible. Any like very creature-based combo decks, because we have incredibly limited removal and like at best turn 4 clock. So any creature-based combo decks.
I've heard so. And Upsal spells beat you too?
No, I can crush this. If I want to sideboard for this, that's not a problem.
Oh yeah, if you want to sideboard 15 Graveyard Hate or Artifact plus Graveyard Hate, of course you can do it, but in big tournaments, nobody does. Because
I had the 4 Pithing Needles available to them, because it turns out it can hit Charbelcher. It finally gives me game against those other really bad matchups, and I was actually struggling a little bit against Tron, because I don't see that much Tron, so I didn't want to...
But Tron is not popular recently.
Yeah, but I still play against it once in a while. If you don't have the cards, then you still get eaten. I still get eaten up by it. So Pithing Needle helps against the Tron decks, hitting Expedition Map, Karn the Great Creator,
anything, Big Karn or whatever.
Turns out Pithing Needle actually is quite playable in Modern. I was incredibly surprised. But outside of that, I still force negate 1 Mana Rock against the Oops deck, and sometimes they lose.
Mana Rock, this Talisman of Resistance, you mean?
Yes, that's right. Or what's the other one?
Penthead Prism.
Penthead Prism, exactly. Sometimes you force negate that, and then all of a sudden they don't have black mana and they just lose.
Yeah, and like 15 minutes ago I said let's not make this Ponza stream, and right now this is Merfolk stream again. But this is not a surprise.
No surprise. The Merfolk Master here. If you want to play the if you want to beat the green-white deck, play Torpor Orb or Damping Matrix. Yeah, but first off, Damping Matrix, I love it, but it's so narrow.
Oh yeah.
And it's 3 mana, which sometimes is difficult to get to, even as a Merfolk player, if I'm only playing with 20 decks. Torpor Orb, that doesn't do anything.
Against what? Against Titan decks? I mean, you don't have
the green-white Helia deck.
Maybe this one. I don't know.
Because there's no
against
ETBs.
Titan, it's good. Against green-white Heliod, it does almost nothing. I mean, you don't stop Ballista.
So it's just very important to note that Walking Ballista and Spike Feeder, they come into play with the counters. It's not an ETB trigger where they come into play and then they get the counters.
Easy. You just play Solemnity, right? I have faced, when I was testing for something a month ago with Druid, I faced mono white auras, mono white enchantments Enduring Ideal, Suppression Field, Torpor Orb stuff, Solemnity, and okay, I just don't win against this deck with Druid. So yeah, of course you can play Solemnity, but the problem is right now, if you don't side against the deck, because for example, Control and Big Mana Titan, it's in my opinion, it's a huge part of the metagame. Yep. I don't want to give any numbers, but huge. So if you sideboard against all other decks, you just can't afford playing very narrow cards because you just don't have slots, in my opinion.
So hits every vial in the format hits Belcher and refers to Damping Matrix. The thing with it's not so effective to have a Damping Matrix by turn 3 if your opponent played Vial on turn 1, and there's no guarantee you even played this thing by turn 3. Maybe you get in play by turn 4,
and you stop your own Vial probably. And what else?
Well, it depends on the deck. Maybe some other random deck is just trying to play. It's not necessarily a Merfolk deck.
I mean, Damping Matrix is this card might be a kill, but it's just very narrow, and it's not many decks that care about this. Control does not, Shadow does not, and those are the decks.
I think it's a powerful, underrated effect in Modern,
For sure.
but yeah, not enough. Like you look at the top decks, like what does it do against the
And
Omnat decks?
yeah, and
Titan.
if you, for example, I think that right now, if you read the card and it says abilities of artifacts, blah blah blah, cannot be activated, and if you see artifacts and cannot, you just say, okay, it's not good now because you got Opal banned, you got Astrolabe banned. Nobody's playing Artifact Hate right now. So when you see just
unless it's
Artifact
mana
Hate,
ability, so like if
I know.
Opal was legal, it still wouldn't work.
Yeah, I know, but nobody's playing Artifact Hate right now because there are no artifacts left in Modern. Almost.
Oh, there's an amulet. Amulet's still there.
So yes, you just stop amulet with this.
Okay. There's a lot of amulets.
Amulet
it doesn't affect amulet either.
No. You got to go back. Amulets of safekeeping. Do you know this card? Oh, it's just the biggest crap of craps of hate cards printed in M19 to punish Storm. This card is such an awful card, bad design, and unplayable bulk rare that I just have no words.
Whenever you become the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless the controller pays one.
The first part is against Grape Shot, and the second part, creature tokens, is against Empty the Warrens.
Empty the Warrens, yeah.
And this is unplayable against anything. So
they
this
should
card
just
is just
called
so bad. Amulet of Stormkeeping or something.
Yes. They should have like
Safe Storming.
What's Safe Storming, Weathering the Storm. They should have made it like a little bit more obvious.
Amulet of Storm Shattering. I don't know, but speaking of amulets, this is probably the worst of all amulets existing.
It's very specifically says that
and it's like
your
the
Storm deck
narrowest
doesn't work anymore.
This is it's not even true because they say if you target, pay extra one. If they go off, they just cast Passing Flames more times and make more mana to just pay for a couple Grape Shots. That's it. And this is the narrowest of the narrowest hate cards that doesn't work. Case closed.
What if it costs 1 mana instead? I don't think
nothing. It would change. If it costs 0, it would change nothing probably. Because this card just gets one card out of your hand, giving you nothing.
Amulet of Safekeeping is good against Lingering Souls. I don't even know about that.
But Lingering Souls are not good against anything. So yeah.
Yeah, Lingering Souls in bad shape right now.
Like 99% of cards printed before 2019. So like no surprise there.
Storm Queller.
Oh, that's good. I like this name. Maybe we can make some.
Really, maybe we can have been in standard sets. I mean, it had no business in standard.
But it should not be in any set. You know what? Maybe we should vote for a good name. I think you should post it on your Twitter account or something. And good name for this. I like.
What's an improved name? The Storm Queller.
Storm Queller is very good. Storm Queller, I like it a lot. Weber Activist, I like it a lot.
Yeah, and Storm is dead. Why Wizards keep printing hate? I have a feeling
it was not in M19. It was not that in M19. I think during the M19 times, it was probably very good back then. But it is M19.
I think the moment they print Damping Sphere, it never really got. I don't know what its presence was at that time, but it has not gotten better since then.
But the problem is that this Storm got worse. Probably. Hard to say, but there was a moment where other decks started killing on turn 3, and it was Hogak, it was probably Shadow, it was Hollow 1, Hollow Vine, and so on, and they did not require you to keep 1, 3, or 2 creature on board. That's it. I think that was the time when people realized, okay, we can kill as fast, not using Graveyard, not getting killed by Dumping Matrix, by some Eidolons, by removal, and so on. So I think that was the time, but yeah, Storm is dead.
Well, one thing with Storm is, like everyone else has been getting tools, but Storm has gotten nothing, absolute nothing for, I don't know, years.
It's not true. Storm
What's
got
the last thing they got?
This Solemn Visions, the land that comes tapped and you can cast it for 3 mana or 2 source instant or source instant.
Oh, you know what? I guess so. They did get one recent edition. The red land. They exchange their hand, right, at instant speed?
There's something, Valakut Awakening or so.
Yes.
There is also Fiery Islet. They play it because they don't play fetches.
Do they play Fiery Islet?
I have seen a couple copies. They play this new No Exploration, Valakut Awakening.
Yeah.
And
this is a good addition.
I think they also sometimes they play. I mean, Storm is not a tier 1 or even tier 2. Maybe deep tier 2, but I have seen people trying sideboarding Veil of Summer, trying to sideboard.
Yeah, I saw very niche decks. They didn't really survive.
Yeah, but what
Storm
else?
is around, but it's still Blue-Red Storm. I agree. I've missed this card because I have not seen Storm.
Yeah, Storm is not popular,
since this card got printed. So I never actually got to play against it.
Fire Islet, this red-green land that, this flip land from Zendikar, they play too sometimes. And what else I can think of? I have seen one or two decks persons
I would
trying
say
to
this
play Mystic Sanctuary.
This is a pretty big addition. The lands are really mediocre compared to like all the new hate cards they keep making. And also very good hate cards.
But take a look what hate cards against Tron got printed and how much Tron was still winning even with them. You need very good hate card to be better than the combo itself. Like Field of Ruin was very good and Tron was still very good at that time. Dumping Sphere is very good hate piece, but still Tron was very good. And how many Tron, maybe this is not dedicated Tron hate, but how many big mana hates you have seen? Alpine Moon, Blood Sun, and I think that Cleansing Willfire is by far the best, the most interesting design, and the best tempo play. You cast it always before they have Tron.
Oh, but and there was one that finally was the
and this is the moment when Tron, at least for now, this is the moment when Tron disappeared. Cleansing
Wildfire. This actually was finally the first decent. I guess because it can do it on turn 1.
You can
turn 2. Turn 2.
So you do it always before Tron, and you always hit and you draw a card. So I mean, and I think this card is very well. Assassin's Trophy. Everybody said, "Wow, the end of Tron," and this card does nothing. It barely sees play in Modern. It's the answer of choice for combo decks in Legacy and some Modern decks, but it does not see play. And people were thinking, okay, so maybe this is the end of Tron. It was not, because hate card must be much better than the combo, than the deck itself to stop it simply. Like Stony Silence, sure. Did Stony Silence help against KCI? Did not. So that's how far it has to go. But Kissing Wildfire, I'm thrilled. Maybe because I'm not Tron player anymore, but I'm thrilled to see it. Oh, this is one more reason why Ponza is bad. Because people have hate for lands that includes your lands, your basic lands. You put a ton of Utopias and this comes into play and you're done. So there are a couple
hitting that Utopia is such a beating for them. I mean, it's the same thing when I Spreading Seas them. Spreading Seas the Utopia Sprawl. They lose the Utopia Sprawl. And you get two. You get 2 for 1, and you slowed. That deck really needs to get to 3 mana by turn 2.
Oh yeah,
for Pyromancer, sure. For Clothis, for it to really spiral out of control. And if they miss that turn,
I mean, they don't play 2 drops
turn 2. Yeah, exactly. They just they're just down a turn for nothing.
And maybe Wildfire made it that every deck that contains red is just, if they choose to, they are decent against Tron or big mana. They are just good. Maybe not, you're not going to win everything, but you have 4 sideboard slots, 4 sideboard cards that give you a reach for many decks, give you a redraw. You can even help you with your own mana. Why not? Under the Blood Moon, you search for basic, right? For your own land.
Exactly.
So I think this card is very powerful, but I think it's well balanced, I suppose. But sadly, it's another card that draws a card, and all cards from 2020 does that. I'm shocked that basic lands don't draw cards in 2020 because.
What are you talking about? Oh, I mean basic lands, non-basic lands. Yeah, draw cards.
Basic lands. Yeah, just kidding. But yeah. But those
we
are
need
the only
fetchable lands. We need fetchable basic lands that draw cards, and then that will complete the cycle.
Fetch lands that draw cards, and
that's right. Fetch lands that cycle.
Yeah, cycle for 0.
Space for you.
Yeah. I did not send CV, but after this talk, I think I will sit down and write it down.
But this is just how Modern is now. Like, everything draws. If it doesn't draw a card, it's not playable. You know.
Yeah, of course. Look at
Confounding Conundrum. Like, this card almost doesn't see any play at all, and it draws a card.
Draws a card, yeah. But let's face it.
I thought this card was really pushed.
Me too.
And it still didn't see very much play.
Amulet, but it turns out there are different options to attack it. And this is the way it is in Modern, sure, but for example, Cleansing Wildfire, drawing a card, it's okay because this card does pretty much nothing. It does something against very specific decks. Against other, it does nothing. And it's reasonable to put a draw on a card that sometimes is good, sometimes it's very bad.
Well, actually, it's being used as a ramp spell in some decks.
But only with Flagstones. If you consider if you consider that you have like a couple of basics and this in hand and your opponent has basics, this card says on sorcery you draw a card for 2 mana. And of course, in different situations it's much better. But the same story is with plenty other cards. So the opportunity cost of putting this card in your deck is, let's say, at some level. And the gain is varying between like very small just draw to very high like I spoil my opponent's plan. And for example, on the contrary, Ura, Veil of Summer and plenty others has very, very low opportunity cost and very high upside. I almost always get to draw a card. Sometimes I destroy my opponent. Wow, why not to play this? So that's the reason. That's the difference in designing these cards. If I still can talk about the design after like 20 bans in 2020, I think design is by far too big word for this. Because how much cards they have banned in total? Let's focus on modern and standard. How much cards Wizards have banned in 2020? That see no paper play. How many? 20?
What do you mean? Like they banned and now no one's playing with it anymore, and specifically modern?
Yes. Plus, I would still assume. Well? Yeah, I still assume because I think those are two biggest formats. 12 in standard,
maybe 12 in standard.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't counted. I just count what's going on in modern.
Absurd. And one more thing, I still count companion change rule as a ban because so I think there was like plenty of bans recently. So I just can't, like when I try to say design, it stuck in my mouth. I can't, because if you design something, then you think about it, you test it. So they were just printed, not designed. just kidding, but this is how
they seem to have tested it, but like they didn't even know how good these cards were when they tested it.
But how can you not know how good a card is when you have to ban it after a week of playing modern? So what did you test? And in standard,
they don't test anything in modern, that's for sure.
So, but they do it the same in standard. In standard, they have banned the cards after like 2 weeks because
or even like 1 week. How long did Omnath last? Did Omnath last a week?
Omnath with Lotus Cobra. I don't know, but it's. I mean,
But that wasn't the real standard, and you and I know that. That standard was supposed to have Oko once upon a time.
Supposed to have Veil of Summer. Yeah, Veil of Summer to fight counter magic against your, I don't know, your Oko or something.
But that standard actually was ridiculous. Somebody actually constructed that standard format, and played decks against each other. It was stupid. There's like these Omnath decks gaining like 70 life, and I have no idea what this would look like on paper. Just tons of these life gain triggers and Lotus Cobras and Uros, and it was really dumb.
I'm just afraid. I'm afraid about modern. As a father, I'm not a father, of course, but I'm afraid about Magic. Where are we going? Where the word is going? Just hit us with some question from the chat because, you're going too deep.
What can I say? Modern's evolving. This is just how the format is.
Yeah,
so long as it's not full of turn 2 decks, I am okay.
I don't want those turn 2 decks. I don't know what is a word for dwarf, but not a dwarf as a Gimli from Lord of the Rings, but just a small man. Just a small man that is, not tall enough because it's of its illness, sickness. Do you know the word in English for this? That somebody is very small and this is a disease.
I don't know the technical word.
Dwarfism, maybe in Polish or something like this. But you cannot say about evolution when a strong high man is dwarfing. It's changing into a very small, like nasty
going
creature.
The opposite direction.
It's not an evolution. It's minus evolution. Yes.
Just out of curiosity, I think a lot of people who got into modern, say 4 or 5 years ago, they have a lot to complain about today. But for people who are just getting into modern, say within the last year, how do you feel about the format?
I have no idea. I have came to modern like much earlier, but if you came and you have seen, if you have seen Hogak era, you have seen Oko era, Astrolabe era, Companion era, 1 week or 2, Companions banned, and then like the other things after Companion change rule, nothing got banned, right? No, there was Astrolabe banned after Astrolabe banned. You see, did anybody say this format does not rotate? Maybe I'm playing. I'm in the wrong.
But someone coming
wrong
from
room.
Standard would still say, "Hey, this is better than Standard." Like that's the point I'm trying to make. Anyone who came within a year instead of 6 years, they might not have seen anything differently.
Yeah, they might came and
this
see.
This is normal. This is just normal for Modern.
You have a whole month to play with your deck. How absurd is that? How good I can become before my deck gets banned. I love this format. That's probably what they say. The whole month. Are you crazy?
It's only banned if you abandon your deck. No decks are actually banned. Name me a deck that actually got cold banned.
Hogak. Case closed.
That's close, but there's still, what's it called? The no-gak deck.
Vine? Bridge Vine?
No, there's no bridge, because that's
Vine?
Venge Vine? Bridge decks literally got banned.
Crap Vine. With P. C-R-A-P Vine.
You call it the Crab Vine deck. Crab Vine.
Crap. P, that's P, not B.
Splinter Twins back, people. Kiki X-Arc.
Oh yes, sure.
Timu got like back-to-back Modern
tend to
top
name
8 challenges.
People name Splinter Twin any deck they see, and it does like something at least similar, or on any level they call it Splinter Twin is back. You play Ballista Heliod, they say Splinter Twin is back. So it's
I'm talking Kiki X-Arc. That's the closest to an actual Splinter Twin there is.
But again, it's a dwarf against a tall man. How good is? I mean, with all the respect, if you make a top 8 with a deck that is much less powerful than some deck used to be, congrats, because it's very good. I mean, when I make made top 8s with Druid, I could think, but I never did that. Oh, if I had pot, it would be sweet, but I still make top 8. It's not the case, but still. But how good is this twin against the twin that was in Modern, like those years ago? It's like nothing. The power level does not compare on any level.
Actually, if you look at the upgrades, so I interviewed the guy Timu who created this deck, and one of the most interesting upgrades to this archetype was just going to an islandless mana base, so you could leverage Boil against the right decks. And in addition to that, the islandless mana base is painless. So you don't take any damage to feed the Scourge of the Skyclaves, and also you keep your life total very high against Prowess. So it ended up having, after he explained it to me, it's actually relatively well positioned. It's not, there's
I'm not saying
a lot
it
of these
isn't.
little niche advantages to make it, a deck in the metagame.
Yeah, I'm not saying
the
it
point
isn't.
I'm trying to make is no one's allowed to be at the top, Laplasjan. You can't be there for forever. You're gonna go down. Either another deck gets more power, or something gets banned.
Yeah, I don't think I have ever been on the very top. But what I wanted to say is that
you cannot hope that your one deck is always at the top. Of course, Splinter Twin got its banning. Now it's down here. But if you don't want to play it anymore because you just want to play the decks that are up there, that's not Splinter Twin's fault. That's a person's fault.
I'm not saying that any deck should be on the top forever. I'm just saying that if you want that, of course, you can say the deck is not banned, the card is banned, but say it to people that were playing KCI or Blue-Red Phoenix. Those decks don't exist. You might say that only one card got banned, but there is no point in playing this deck. If you want to play at FNMs, you never buy tier 1 deck. If you want to play competitive, you buy tier 1 deck, and one banning results in you don't have a competitive deck. That's usually the case. So this is what I'm talking about, and banning decks. Not that they will take away your cards from home.
It very rarely happens like that, though. KCI is a good example. That deck actually literally disappeared because that was the whole deck revolved around that one card. But you can't say the same thing about the Amulet deck. I don't think you could say the same about Infect.
But let's think about one more thing. Amulet or Summer Bloom got banned decades ago. I don't know when was it, but it was more than 10 years, right? When it was.
Oh, no. It was around 2015. It got banned the exact same banning and restricted announcement as Splinter Twin did.
Yeah.
So they both got banned at the same time.
5 years?
I reported that at the time. I remember.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is this deck got banned, or some card, let's say the most powerful card from this deck got banned 5 years ago. And from that time, the deck, of course, it existed in some way, like Storm. Storm got banned plenty of times, and it exists too. But right now, we are talking about Amulet Titan that is completely different and has 14 cards from last 8 months. So before that time, maybe it would be more reasonable to talk about this deck surviving the ban. But still, it was 5 years ago.
We can talk about that a little bit because, okay, so first off, it was very important that the people who loved Amulet, they kept playing the deck and kept tuning it and kept it in the metagame so that when the new cards came in, that they could adapt it to the deck. Because if everyone 100% unanimously just dumped the deck, then as the news cards came in, they would be useless. They would never have some shell to put in.
Wait, I have to answer to this. Of course, but every time when new cards come from the new set, you think, okay, this card, I'm looking at, preparing for the pre-release. I'm looking, okay, this card is interesting. And everybody's questioning, can this card be in my old deck? And even if they abandon the deck and they see Castle Garen Brick, they see Turn Timber Symbiosis, they see Dryad of the Elysian Grove and Field of the Dead printed, they will ask the question again, whether this deck is playable again. Can I make the deck without Summer Bloom that is competitive? Again, even if they abandon the deck at the time of banning, because this is possible, they will come back because you just, like for example, when Companions got printed, I was looking for deck because in my opinion, a Druid was just bad. And when I saw Druid, I started playing with Druid with Lures. I started playing this because it was like, it is very easy for me to collapse into the deck, like players that were experienced with one archetype collapse to this one archetype again. But if you think, for example, about players abandoning Pod after the ban, they tried to play Abzan with Rhino. Where are they now? Maybe in Company Heliod, but before Skyclave Apparition, they were nowhere. For months, there was no creature green-based deck, mid-range creature green-based deck. So they were nowhere, so they have abandoned it because you just cannot play this strategy. Right now, with Apparition...
Who's they, though? Who's they?
Players. I mean, no. I'm not... What do you mean?
Competitive players. Here's the
argument
I want to make with these archetypes.
Yeah.
People like you, a lot of other competitive players, you will play the best deck because it is the best deck or one of the top decks.
No, not necessarily.
There's a threshold. There's a point to where this deck can win, but you don't want to play this deck because it's really not that strong compared to the other options. And then all of a sudden, that chunk of competitive players, which put up the results that consistently get the published listings, once that deck gets low enough, it just like collapses because it was most of the win percentage of that archetype was from the competitive players, and then they just bunny hop to whatever is the basically best deck at the time. And I want to get back to the Amulet Titan because even though it had Dryad of the Elysian Grove, even though it had Veil of Summer, well, I don't actually know if it actually really plays it all that much. They had Once Upon a Time. When Once Upon a Time got banned, like the Titan decks disappeared like for a month.
But when Oko was legal, Oko Titan was one of the premium decks. So still, you can say that
Oko got banned first.
Before Once Upon. Okay, so before it, Titan was one of the premium decks of the format. You play just blue-green ramp deck. It won a GP, one of the last GP.
I understand, but there was a lot of Oko decks out there. In fact,
there was
all decks that played in Modern were Oko decks.
Mono Oko metagame. But Titan was one of the decks that used the Oko. Maybe not at its best, but it just could win mid-range, late-game battles. So honestly, there were so many cards printed into Amulet or into Titan strategy with powerful lands that I don't think you can say this deck ever disappeared. Maybe 5 years ago for 2 years, but right now, for a very long time, this deck is very close to the top or even on top.
I would say for that 1 month, it was gone because of the perception that, hey, you lost a card, it got banned, screw this deck. But then, as eventually people realized, even though a card got banned, this deck was still pretty strong, and it rebounded easily. And of course, it even got even more cards out of Zendikar Rising, and has done quite fine. Well, the Dryad of the Elysian Grove was just ridiculously strong by itself.
But it's not, I mean, if it was only this card, it would be fine, but there's like 10 more, at least, in main deck, so they have plenty of new toys.
And more getting printed.
Of course.
More getting printed as we
speak. They will all draw cards, right?
Well, of course. Yeah. So that's just the thing. They're very clearly trying to reduce the amount of mana screw and non-games in Magic now. Basically Magic is about just like emptying your hand for like 20 turns because you'll always have like infinite resources, and then whoever wins wins.
Do you like this strategy? Do you like this idea?
I love it. I love it.
I hate it.
I honestly have no problem with how Magic is right now. I love the London Mulligan. And I have to say the London Mulligan hurt me by a lot. I didn't realize how much it hurt spreading seas, because when people mulligan to like a random 5-card hand, they're like, okay, I just got to keep this, and it has like one land. I spreading seas it. That's like a complete win for me. But that never happens anymore. But because they can always, like, Tron can mulligan to a perfect 5 of maybe just like 5 Tron lands and just hope to top deck something good, and disrupting them is like impossible.
Oh, there is always some splash damage. I remember when we were playing some Monday Night Magic in our city, and we got somebody said Hogak is banned, but it's not everything. Stoneforge got unbanned and Faithless Looting got banned, and I think for a second I'm very happy because I hated, because Faithless Looting was absurdly powerful. But my second thought was,
you and Sodek on the same. We need to get Sodek on here. Sodek wants Faithless Looting unbanned. He says, "Oh, it's not a problem for Modern at all. It's not a problem." Would everyone like to see that?
I'm a man of taste. I like a good joke. But coming back to the topic, I was very happy at first, but then I thought I'm in a huge trouble because I played Eldrazi Tron, and I think Eldrazi Tron preyed on decks that playing a ton of one Tron. And Faithless Looting powered decks like, for example, I don't know, Mardu Pyromancer or some any red leg-ish cards and Blue-Red Phoenix. And Blue-Red Phoenix was one of the reasons Eldrazi Tron was good and better than the other decks. And from this moment, in my opinion, Eldrazi Tron got worse and worse for months. And right now, here it is being on, in my opinion, tier 2 or 1.5 or something.
Yeah, I remember on one of Sodek's streams, he says something like it's fine. Arc-like Phoenix would come back and it would be okay, and I don't remember.
Remember, man of taste.
Yes. From a turn 2 combo player's perspective, that makes a lot of sense. But to people who are trying to get into turn 5 and 6, this makes absolutely no damn sense whatsoever.
Even though I don't like some changes into Modern, Manaless Dredge bring back. Bring back, the orphans. What? I cannot, please. I just want to play Graveyard. You can. Just, shatter Leyline of the Void and you have Graveyard again. So what I wanted to say is that I remember somebody from SCG saying, Blue-Red Phoenix was a fine tier 1 deck. You can beat it. I mean, it's fair. How is this fair? The deck that brings back so much power on board, they could attack you for 12 on turn 2 because it happened on turn 3 and so on. And suddenly they play all this Aria of Flames, all those new removal spells like Magmatic Sinkhole. Because how red decks fight 5 toughness creatures? We print new cards for them, right? And you feed your graveyards. So this Delve is not a problem. Mm-hmm. So they had all the tools in the world and the thing in the eyes on top that even if it gets countered, you get hit by 7/7 and you're dead. This deck was so stupid. And it killed so many decks from the metagame.
People playing the best decks who don't want to get their cards banned. Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. Although, hey, what do you think is... Okay, so control players, you're not a control player. I'm not a control player. But control players seem to have some disagreement about what is the card that should be banned. Maybe ideally they're all banned, but what do you think?
They think Veil of Summer should be banned or what?
Well, there's usually a debate between Uro and Mystic Sanctuary. I think these are the 2 cards that are on everybody's mind. You could.
I have an answer for that.
Right.
Maybe do you have your answer too? Don't tell me. Do you have it?
Okay. I have an answer.
So on 3. 1, 2, 3, Uro.
I don't care.
Well, you did not tell. Oh, come on, you don't care. Okay, we had some delay. But you know what? I was thinking about this Blue-Red Phoenix. I thought back then, because I tried to play company with Knight of the Relic Party Tracker back then. Right now, I don't think this deck can win a single match because how old it became in this year or two. But Blue-Red Phoenix felt so powerful back then that I thought, what card you should ban? Whatever you ban, Arclight Phoenix is just stupid to ban. But if you ban one card, probably this deck will still be very powerful. There is so much power there. And I feel the same way about control decks. But when looting got banned, it turned out this deck does not exist. Like, you banned the card that makes
but again, this is for the reason that, you players don't want to play, a deck above, like, below, like, 4% of the metagame.
Yeah, what of course, but don't exist. I mean, this deck, did you see any blue-red Phoenix in any top 128 of tournament in last 6 months? This means for me,
not even over the year.
Yes, this means that this deck don't exist for me. I don't mean that all the cards got destroyed. I mean, this deck is not seen anywhere. This is what I mean by this. Just my shortcut. Yeah. So what I wanted to say, Fateless Looting was a glue that kept all the pieces together. Redundancy, grave hate, grave, like turning the grave on, putting Phoenixes into grave, turning on your Think in the Ice, and so on. I think that Uro is a glue that makes you gain life, ramp, draw a card, and this keeps all the pieces together. So I think without Uro, Mystic Sanctuary would not be so good. But also, I think that play pattern, for example, play pattern of bringing Uro back is stupid and boring. But I feel the same way about Mystic Sanctuary Cryptic Loop. I don't think this should be good play pattern.
I have a biased opinion about this deck because I crush this matchup, so I really don't care about either of the cards. But from the perspective of other players, I like to hear.
So, for example,
so there's a lot of control players that are like, we need, Uro's not a problem. It's Mystic Sanctuary.
I mean, Mystic, not mystical. Contessa Mystica. So what I wanted to say is that Mystic Sanctuary is absolutely powerful. This is like out of the question. But what I wanted to say, when Mycosync Lattice got banned, it was not because of absurdly high power level of Eldrazi Tron or Green Tron. It was because play pattern, I play Karn, I minus for Breach, either you draw something or you lose. You just can't do anything for the rest of the game. And here's the same. At some moment of the game, of course, probably much later, but let's face it, Karn and Lattice cost 10 mana. Looping Cryptic is less than 10 mana. So for example, I bounce my Sanctuary, I put it with Uro, I put my Cryptic back, here is a lock. So this is very boring play pattern. So I could easily see this ban too. But I think they will ban Uro. But I hope they ban anything, because I don't think this is a good situation. But that's just me. That's just me and
Mystic
millions
Sanctuary
of players.
Is just mystical tutor on a land. It's
this is very
you can fetch.
I mean,
so all fetch lands are mystical tours.
Yeah, I think this card should not exist as well. But if we mystical tutor, if we discuss Uro versus Mystic Sanctuary, I think if you ban Uro, Mystic Sanctuary gets much worse, because you don't get to play your triumphs free forever. You don't get your 3 life. You don't get your ramp spells. So when you're gonna do it? Not on turn 7,
and
but
also
on turn
it's one less
12.
card to prevent the loops, because you need to draw a card every single turn.
Yes, because you have to. Yes, because you draw a card and you put extra lands into play. So you cast, tap your creature, bounce this into card, put this on top, and then attack and draw it already. So I think they both will be. I think that Mystic Sanctuary might be much worse without Uro than Uro without Mystic. So I think that Uro is a good idea, but ban whatever, do it fast. This is my statement. I will make it, the banner.
Think most people are after Uro, or they hate Uro more. I just find it interesting that control players, they put all the heat on Mystic Sanctuary. Oh no, it's Mystic Sanctuary.
Yeah, but because they want less powerful cards to get banned. And I think that more people hate Uro because all the burn players hate Uro, all the late game players hate Uro, and mid-range players hate Uro. Did you see any mid-range? No, because mid-range is like swallowed by control. Jant does not exist. John, that got I don't know.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. Most of the control players, like I get a lot of feedback about Uro in Modern, and they say control is dead. It's just Uro mid range now.
That's fine.
This is like the blue Jund, the Filiana the Veil.
You can name it Simic Tempo, whatever the name is. I mean, it swallows everything that tries to go over turn 3. This is just my opinion.
Because it doesn't play like traditional control decks used to. I don't know if that's entirely true. I think they just want blue-white control to be a good deck again.
I mean,
control players.
I mean, blue-white control is a very powerful deck. The problem is that Uro is not in blue-white control, and that's why it's not played. Because Uro is just too powerful. Because what
we have to go
blue-white
ban,
control,
basically.
yeah, what blue-white control could do against Uro? Counter it. Okay, if they tap out on turn 3, that's probably a good idea. A counter and play my Teferi, but they will not. So counter it turn 7. No, because you lose a card. They draw a card, they play a land. They have more lands than you, and they have resources in graveyard wheel, which you really cannot counter because it's a card advantage, and you cannot path it because it's awful. So basically, control deck cannot do anything with Uro without graveyard hate. And for some time, Cling to Dust was this graveyard hate of choice. Right now, it's not, because red-black prowess does not exist, and Shadow does not want to gain life. Okay, we have some questions.
Well, some comment. Part of what makes playing against control even remotely enjoyable is knowing that you have some level of inevitability if they don't draw a threat. The Cryptic Loop eliminates that inevitability and ability for decks to overcome, even with a small chance of them drawing no gas. It's just very feels bad card, and that's coming from someone who uses it as a fair linchpin of my combo deck.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what I mean. People might hate Uro for whatever reason, and they always celebrate when it gets banned. Period. Very well.
One good thing is that if you ban Uro, clearly all the control decks will still be a deck, and it will maybe force a bunch of innovation amongst the control players.
What? Can you repeat? I had some problems.
It will force some innovation amongst the control players because they have to go back to their roots. And maybe they'll even start picking up. This has a little bit of steam, but it's clearly worse than the Uro decks. Are you familiar with the counterbalance?
I have seen. I mean, you mean Terminus Miracles? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Basically.
I mean, yeah. I mean, counterbalance was never. Yeah, Mystic Sanctuary to put something back on top and so on, and Terminus on top and Intrigue Angels on top. The problem with counterbalance in Modern was always that in Legacy you put one on top and you I win the game with Miracles in Legacy, and here you have like, let's say, Collected Company, Uro, Dark Confidant, and Fatal Push or Thoughtseize, and you have from 1 to 4 everything that you want to counter. So I think it's fine. The upside of this card is high, but the downside is also very high. I think it's okay. And after Astrolabe got banned, when everybody was playing Banned Snow, Druid was very good against Banned Snow. And still, I said, we have to ban something. It's not good. So the same story, if you say that you have very good match against Uro, it still does not mean that you don't want something to get banned. So, I think there will be some changes after Astrolabe got banned. Banned Snow changed into like many things, and it evolved for months. And when Banned Control meet Omnat, they got married, and we have 4-color control now.
What are people saying?
What are they saying?
Some people, well, in my opinion, Uro needs to be banned.
What is for a fact?
New deck is the future of Spike. New deck is the future of Uro. Oh, you mean Aspiring Spike's deck? The Bant. Basically, the Soul Herder deck that has dumped the Soul Herder and plays more of a control package. Yeah.
But
very similar deck to Eternal Command of like 8 years ago.
Oh, Eternal Command was this like very Eternal Witness Cryptic Command.
3 mana Ether Vial deck.
Yeah, and the problem was, not the problem, but if you take a look at this deck, of course it's different and it's innovative, but if you take a look, it plays Uro, Teferi, Force of Negation, Mystic Sanctuary. So like this is very much similar to all other decks. Force of Negation, maybe Veil of Summer, Postboard, and so on and so forth. Of course they play Ephemerate, Venser, and so on and so forth, but still it's not that different. And Skyclave Apparition, right? So you just play ETB creatures plus all the package that goes into any control deck right now, because any control deck right now plays Uro, plays Force of Negation, Cryptic Command, some amount of Mystic Sanctuary. So
this one has, I think, one Mystic Sanctuary.
Yeah, this has one, but probably others has more. Does not matter that much. What I mean
to
by
bounce
this,
it back and forth.
Yeah, that's one. It's all it takes. Because it's not a creature, you don't need it into your hand. You want it in your library. That's a problem. Because if you, for example, Hogak, one Hogak is enough to kill you. Yeah, but you can have it in your graveyard or hand. It does not necessarily be into your hand. Does not need to be. The same story is with Mystic or Uro. There's not a problem that this card is threatening when it's in your hand. It's threatening anywhere. Sanctuary, for example. You bring it back with Ren, end of the game, loop forever. So yeah, the problem is that even if you make some innovations, you still are, turning around Uro, because all the world is turning around Uro.
Why haven't I play tested this card yet?
What do you mean play tested? Before printing or just play
No, I mean throw it in my Merfolk deck. I play Simic after all anyway.
I did not throw it anywhere because I just don't like to. I mean, I try to be as competitive as possible on the level that I like, because Magic is not my job. I don't like 4-color control, so I don't want to play it. I have picked Amulet Titan because it's like, from the tier decks, the least ugly deck for me.
You're still playing a Titan.
I'm playing a giant, so I'm playing green creature. I'm just splashing blue. It doesn't matter. My Birds of Paradise and Nobles also can make blue, but I did not name my deck Simic. So not every blue-green deck is Simic. What I wanted to say is that there are people like me that will not pick the deck that is by far the best. They will just pick...
It's most of us, really, actually.
Yeah, I know. But one of the best decks that is like most appealing to me. I would love to play mid-range creature deck. But I don't want to play Uro, Teferi, Mystic Sanctuary, Force of Negation, blah, blah, blah. And there is none. Mono-white taxes seem to be good. They are not anymore. They are very bad against control and bouncing creatures stuff. They are good against big mana. They are very good against Upsal spells and against maybe Amulet Titan and green-white. But they are very bad against control and very bad against mid-range. And you just cannot jump over it, I think.
From a spectator's perspective, Teferi sucks. He takes all the fun out of watching control mirrors.
So we are coming back after like 1 hour and a half of discussion. We are coming back to my list of cards to ban. Mystic Sanctuary and Uro already discussed. Teferi is the next one. Yes. So we have like only 2 more, and I'm closing the list. Yeah, Teferi is not fun at all. And I have heard many people talking about this card, how this could be not that good or not that annoying. And it's the same story they made with Oko. You just need to make slight difference. Like, just make it 5 mana. Just kidding. But just make it like -1 to make an Elko instead of +1. +1 for food instead of +2. No. They made it this way, so it finished banned. The same story here. If you make this 3 loyalty and -3 for bouncing, that's fine. You just need to put more effort for this card to give you cards.
This is a really good point. I hear this in the comments section all the time. Control players hate Teferi.
Because it's boring. Because the whole...
it just kills one side of the game.
Yes,
I mean...
and just this control game, of course, besides Field of the Dead, which is broken and should be banned too. But speaking of control matchups, it's about resolving Teferi. That's it. And this is the problem. It's boring, not fun for anybody, for players and for watchers. You're just not playing interactive Magic anymore. And one more thing, if you exchange -3 for -4, or just make loyalty 3, it's not fine, but it's better because it makes you spend more effort for this card to stay on the battlefield and to draw your cards. If it enters, draws the cards from Astrolabe, bouncing your Astrolabe, and stays on the battlefield, it's game over for other control deck. They cannot overpower this because they need to bounce it main phase with Cryptic, and they got Force of Negation, and that's it. That's game. And the same story.
It's not even that. It's like they cannot fight any counter war whatsoever. The side with the Teferi says, okay, counter spell, and that's it. It doesn't matter how much open mana you have.
Yes, of course.
My counters work, yours don't.
Okay, Mana Leak does not do it. Force Spike does not do it. Spell Pierce does not, but everything else does. And second problem, I've heard probably Tom Ross, who probably is guilty in some way because he was a part of a team from Modern Horizons. So he took a part in printing all those stupid cards. He said that it was enough to switch passive ability and +1. That's it. And this card is perfectly fine. You have a window between upkeep and activation when you can cast instants. That's it. You don't need more. Okay? And this card is perfectly fine then. The same story with plenty others, like maybe even Karn or so. Imagine Karn with Lattice, when you have to plus to make all opponents' cards inactive. You have all upkeep, your upkeep, and for example, or my upkeep. My upkeep until the activation. That's fine, right? Everything is okay. Because you have time for it. Because it's not a passive ability.
What about if it just said each player can cast spells only any
Perfect
time
too.
they could cast
Perfect too.
a sorcery? The fact that this
I
is
mean,
one side is what makes this so frustrating.
yeah.
Same thing with the Karn thing.
For what about another joke? What about if you cast Oko, opponent puts a token of not Oko, Uro. Opponent puts token of Uro on the battlefield. The same. It would be perfect fine. But
Well, everyone has an Uro.
yeah, exactly. But the problem is that
these
you
need
don't
to be more symmetrical. These asymmetrical effects are just brutal.
Hey Timo, what's up? This is the Splinter Twin.
Yeah, this is the Splinter Twin guy.
Yeah.
We were talking about you earlier.
Show him one more time. Okay, so what I wanted to say is that you don't need much to make busted cards decent again and fun to play. I don't claim that Teferi making nobody casting instance would be fun, but imagine how interesting this would be if until your next turn. So you have whole time from your upkeep to activation of Teferi to fight, to kill, to do something. This would be perfect. I mean, this would be much more interesting and much more balanced, but it's not. So, in my opinion, this should get banned for us to have more interesting Modern. I don't think this card makes like... of course, it has like plenty strange play patterns like Spellqueller or others, or suspense spells. Take a look at Scapeshift. Search for Tomorrow does not exist because of Teferi, and plenty other cards do. Like, nobody plays Scapeshift with Search for Tomorrow right now, I think. Because, what? You just don't suspend any spells.
Okay, we have a bit of a question regarding Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Ask him if this thing should be banned, or should it have cost green instead of a single green?
You know what? Somebody told me I'm not an Amulet enthusiast, so don't think I will say no. This card is fine. I want to play it. I've heard somebody. It's wrong that green-white deck is killing with damage this way. This way, Valakut at Dryad does. I think it's strange too. I think it, for example, could have 3 toughness or something like this. But the problem is that in the face of Uro, Mystic Sanctuary, Teferi, and other nonsense, Dryad of the Elysian Grove is like 10th card to discuss, or like far away from the top. We are discussing cards to ban right now, to ban in upcoming months, and to ban after them. And Dryad is not even in the third group. This is the problem. Like Veil of Summer. Do you think that Veil of Summer should be banned? No, because there are many more powerful cards. Much more powerful cards right now in Modern. But Veil of Summer is a stupid card. For 1 mana, counter and draw. Like, come on. Hex Prevent counter would be enough. But they gave a draw, and this card is busted.
But this card doesn't this card exist? What is the other one?
What? Which one?
Veil of
Summer? Veil of what?
Was it Veil of Spring? No, Veil of Autumn.
Veil of Autumn?
Believe it or not, this card exists.
You mean this one cycling, or
no,
Edge of
Veil?
Autumn?
What is the other one? Oh, Autumn's Veil. Sorry.
Okay, I'm curious what's gonna happen. No. Maybe.
Okay, 1 green instant. Spells you control can't be countered by blue or black spells this turn, and creatures you control can't be the targets of blue or black spells this turn.
That's it.
But you do not draw a card.
This
has existed for like 8 years and does not see any play.
Perfectly balanced card. The same story is with Priest.
Perfectly balanced, but obviously they like, well, you know what? We're gonna push it a little bit further.
The same story is with Arcum's Astrolabe. Arcum's Astrolabe existed for 2 mana.
Was it? Oh yeah, you're right. There, it doesn't exist.
And you know what? I think it used. There is some card that
I think there's a 1 mana rock that doesn't draw a card.
Maybe. So this is like a fixed Astrolabe. And the same story is with wait for a second, I will search in my mind for it. No. What else? Oh, and there is also, you can play 8 copies of Bolt. The only difference is that the second one costs just 1 more, but it's fine. It's just 1 more Lightning Strike, right? So you just don't need much for card to become unplayable. I mean, Veil of Summer is of course pushed, but there are plenty of more cards right now to ban. Like, nobody's talking about Veil of Summer, although all the black players are also pissed off.
Well, how would this?
Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Should this be banned after 10 cards that we have already discussed? Maybe.
Okay, with all now, a lot of these Titan decks all revolve around Primeval Titan. What do you think of this card right now in the metagame, or is this card fine and it's really things like Field of the Dead that have?
I mean, the problem is not Titan. The problem is not Dryad. If you have Titan, and like in the past, you search for Sunhome, Fortress of the Legion, and you give it double strike attack for 16, that's fine. The problem is that you make 20 zombies after the turn is resolved. This is the problem. Field of the Dead is the problem. Again, we are talking about some different cards being very bad or very wrong. If you don't have this, then your whole plan collapses because you beat many of decks just putting a lance into play. That's it. I think if we have to ban 6 mana card, something is very wrong with Modern.
Well, it is a tutor, and while Field of the Dead, I agree, is a bit pushed, especially since it does see play in like control decks. So that's a sign exactly. that is a pushed card. There will probably still be more pushed lands in the future. So do we infinitely ban pushed lands?
Wait for a second. There is one way to make Field of the Dead balance again. Not make zombies. That's it. Simple. How simple is this? Okay, let's go back to the Spray Evil Titan. Of course, there will be more like Tabernacle or Wasteland, right? But I don't think there is like a particular. I love the way this guy thinks. Which guy?
Well, he's talking about you.
I hope it's me. Okay, thanks a lot. I'm kidding a bunch. I hope you know when I'm kidding, when I'm serious. When I talk about banning blue cards, I'm serious. I'm deadly serious. Otherwise, I might be joking. You just need to know the context. So speaking of Primeval Titan, whether this card really need to be banned, I don't think so. I think right now, both Amulet Titan and Green-White Titan are preying on control decks wanting to go as long as possible. And you just kill them with your 4 Field of the Dead, 4 Ghost Quarters killing opponent's field, and so on and so forth. So if you play Ad Nauseam, if you play some, no KCI, but Storm, if you play Upsol spells, you probably just win those games. If this deck reaches like 15-20% of the metagame and crushes tournament after tournament, probably there will be the time to ban it. I don't think there's one right now.
Or
the reason
else.
To ban this card. What?
Or something else.
Yeah, or something else. It might be just
a card that really put this deck over the top, because all of a sudden they could add the Valakut plan. Like there were 2 archetypes before. There was Titan Shift and there was Amulet Titan, and you had to choose one. But now, because of this, there's no point to play Titan Shift anymore.
But there is fixed version. Plan. Yes, there is fixed version of Dryad, Prismatic Omen, and nobody plays it, right? You remember the enchantment that makes all your lands all types? Yeah, so that's it. No, so this is it on a stick.
No.
I mean,
it's not even close to the same card.
Of course, but it's a creature. I mean, the same effect that Valakut kills faster.
You get to put additional land drops.
Of course, I'm not talking that this is the same card. I'm just talking about the same effect. But people used to play it in Skype Shift just to be 1 turn faster. What I wanted to say is that you don't have only Dryad and Field as new cards. You have also Turntimber Symbiosis. You have also 1 or 2 Triumphs. You have also Castle Garandrick. Remember, Castle makes 2 mana for Titan. So it makes your Titan 1 turn faster. It's not the one card that made this deck powerful. It is the series of printings that came all in playsets. So there are like 12, 16 new cards for this deck. You just cannot be on the same power level when 16 new cards came into the deck, or 12. So what I wanted to say,
I can tell you from a fair perspective, like this card changes the most. Castle Garenbrig, I don't care about any of those other cards, because when a Titan enters the battlefield, because it can get the Valakut lands, it will wipe out my board, and I have no chance of counterattacking. There is always plenty of opportunity to win. If a Titan enters the battlefield, you might not make any zombies pending the lands on the battlefield.
But imagine, okay, so if you cut the Dryad, then the plan of Valakut does not exist. But imagine cutting Field. All you need to do is stop the Dryad triggers. You do anything. You just play some hate like Alpine Moon, maybe Dumping Sphere to slow them down, 1 Dismember up. But the problem is that they have everything together. They play Dryad, they can kill you with Valakut, so you kill Dryad, and then you have 20 zombies. So everything combined is a problem. If you remove any of those cards, the deck will suffer immensely from this, because removing 1 plan puts everything else at the risk. Wow, you hated out for example, okay, if you play Ashik, then you hate everything. But okay, you hated out my Valakut, that's fine. I still make 20 zombies, deal with this. So I think there is always more than one dimension of a problem. The same story was with every deck that got banned. Of course, you can play Mystical Dispute or Abrupt Decay on Oko, but this is not a problem that this card cannot be answered. Its opportunity cost of destroying it or countering it is much bigger than just playing it by yourself.
Well, let's not forget that like something like Dryad and same thing with Field of the Dead and Valakut is they'll always get value even if you answer it.
So of course,
like, okay, they play Dryad, they get a few extra land drops. Okay, you kill it, whatever. I'm a little bit closer to getting the Titan in play. Same thing with Field.
The same story was with Oko, with Astrolabe. You never hit artifacts for Astrolabe. So this is the problem of pushed cards. That they do a bit too much, just a bit too much.
So yeah, I'm 515.
Hey, have fun. Thanks a lot. So yeah, I think that's.
Maybe now is a good time to squeeze in to give a shout out to my sponsors, starting with themanabase.com, your home base for everything Magic the Gathering. Let's not forget that the Mana Base is sponsored by Fusion Gaming Online, my favorite local game store. Where do you go for your local game store, Laplasjan?
Where do I go? Or
what's your local game store?
My local game store, I mean, I don't know how to answer you. Mak Planszowy in Wrocław. Board game.
Oh, yeah?
Board Mage and
shout out
Phoenix.
To I don't remember it now.
Just say Mak Planszowy and
Planszowy. But there's I can't remember the one that I went to in Warsaw.
In Warsaw, Strefa MTG.
Strefa, that's right. I went to Strefa. Shout out to Strefa.
I have been.
But outside of that, they're not sponsoring me. But the one that is sponsoring me, Fusion Gaming Online, you can save 20% off all your Commander singles and sealed product. And also, we're going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. And one reason that people can switch from one deck to another almost every single week. You can support the channel by using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or you can save 15% off.
I thank Mana Traders too. I'm using it too. I thank Mana Traders too. I'm using their like renting too, so. It's cool.
Mana Traders is great.
And I think that the idea of making like monthly tournaments with it, do you playing it?
I'm playing in the modern ones because it does sometimes take some grinding to playing in the other ones.
Yeah. I think that
I didn't play the Legacy one this month.
I think it was one of the greatest ideas I have seen since Wizard made like weekend PTQs when COVID was announced that nobody will play in person, so they made PTQ every weekend in different formats. So I think since this time, this is like the greatest idea.
Yeah. So if you don't know, I like it a lot. Mana Traders has the Mana Traders series. So hold on, maybe I can bring it up actually. ManaTraders.com. You save 15% off your first 3 months using my coupon code Nikachu. But we'll get to the. Okay, so. But they have a series. They have a free roll. If you are, you can play in it even if you're not even a Mana Traders member. But if you are a Mana Traders member, you can get 10 times the number of prizes. So the December, what is this December series?
Modern. It's modern again.
Excellent. You better believe I'm going to be in that one. So $15,000 monthly payout every month. They have this every single month. You have to qualify. You play against random people. It's awesome because area.
you just play a couple of matches just to stretch out maybe in format you don't know, you don't like or something, or you just have some free time, but you play for something. I made like 6-1 or 7-1 and I qualified for standard and I won nothing because I played this like outdated mono green aggro, but I got like in the time of Omnat already, but I got like $25 or euro. So it was like almost my monthly rental. So it's like fine. You're playing, you're winning. Even if you don't get that much money, you still can have like month or two for free. I think it's cool. And you're playing in like very interesting tournament with very interesting structure with very interesting prizes. Perfect.
Yeah. Look at that. First, you can win up to $4,000 for free.
Exactly. You just don't need anything. There is no money to come in, but of course it's better when you are there, when you are signed for Mana Traders rental than if you're not. How do you feel about our local game stores being closed for COVID?
So long as they're not struggling or suffering, I think mine are doing fine because people still are buying cards like crazy.
Oh yeah,
it's funny.
They are.
There's a lockdown. No one can actually play. No one's supposed to play in person, but people are buying cards like no tomorrow.
I mean, it's in Poland, maybe it's different or it's just me, but I tried to sell some cards online, and it's like nobody was buying them. And somebody posted a thread that, in contrary to everybody who is selling cards, I will buy some. And he listed the cards because nobody was buying. But I think that it is good time to buy cards, because probably when the first big, and everybody is saying this, when the first big GP paper is announced, it will be sold out immediately. I will just, I will not sleep, just wait for it to be open and just sign in. Whatever this will be, unless it's standard, historic, brawl, or limited. Whatever it is, if not those 4, I will play it. And I will go for side events, I will play everything. And I will buy cards like crazy. I will spend crazy amounts of money there. Because I just can't do it right now. And I'm, this...
I'm looking at Ethervile right now. This is at like easily a low $32.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're interested in playing some Ethervile deck, where's the real price history? What is this, Modern Masters?
I don't know. Where's price history?
It's a little bit of a low. Actually, that's not that low, to be honest.
I expect all the cards to be very expensive at the first GP, and still I will buy a lot because I'm like, I want to buy cards and I don't have place. I want to go through, shops, see cards. I have just ordered like 4 foil Path to Exile from Conflux and some other cards with my friends because, pimping your own deck, maybe even if it's not the best right now. But you see,
forget it. Ethervile's gone up.
Ethervile is already going up, probably because of mono white taxes, because of some other Yorion taxes.
It's been going up since January 20. It's just been going up. What can I say? It definitely took a spike when goblins got really popular last summer.
Yeah, it's just a very good card. So what I wanted to say is that this is why I partially don't like printing that much pushed card, because I like playing with my old deck, because I pimped it, I foiled it. I like those cards. I like
online prices. Thank you very much. What's the tabletop prices then?
I thought that
tells now that makes more sense. That tells
I thought that there was a Tix and there was a paper price, but maybe I'm wrong. So it was a down.
Yeah. So this is going up online, which makes sense. Because you can only play online anyway.
Yeah, because you can play on. Yeah, exactly.
So looks like some people already was starting to buy in, but right now is a pretty good time to be buying paper. Paper modern staples. The commander cards are really expensive, so screw that.
Do you remember when humans got so popular that they were like tier 1 to 1 decks? Do you remember the set? Which set was this?
Ixalan.
Yeah, it was Ixalan Rivals with Unclaimed Territory.
Okay.
Wait, don't try it. No, yeah, I want to see where is Ixalan there. So no, the price was already high and it stayed high. Right?
Yeah, it just didn't. Yeah, just barely.
Maybe you need to zoom in this period. Maybe there is like some jump, but right now it's much lower. So everybody will buy cards as crazy when it starts. No,
maybe this is where humans started to not be so good.
Yep, they are not. So what I wanted to say is that, I mean, local game stores are fine because people staying at home buy board games. Like I do as well for my family and so on. So we do buy board games because we just can't leave homes. But what I wanted to say is that I'm surprised how much I miss it. I mean, you might say that when somebody's playing in big tournaments online, blah blah blah, you fight for PTQ, then FNM is nothing. No, it's very important. You want to go there. You want to play with your cards, that your deck that you pet, you have foiled or signed or whatever. You want to, I don't know, meet somebody, sell some cards that are rotting in your albums. I did not expect this to be that important, but generally speaking, I miss leaving home.
Social interaction.
Yeah,
human beings. We want to meet people and see them.
Yeah, somebody said that he loves human beings.
Yeah,
those from FNMs. Yeah, so I generally speaking miss leaving home, but I miss GPs so much. But I miss FNMs too.
I miss the big. Well, I miss the big events. I like going out to the weekend.
Yeah. I love it.
I can try to top 8 something.
Yeah. No, yeah, and try to top 8 something or die trying.
Yeah,
die from starvation, of course.
And one way or another, you go see your friends.
Yeah, you go to see your friends, and I love this feeling when you go and spend the whole week like washing your brain with this fantasy nonsense. I love it. I will go. I remember the last GP I was. It was with my friend Rafał. We were on GP Ghent or GP Brussels. It was probably with Ben Jones as well. Hi Ben, with Ben Jones modern team GP. And when we were driving there, we hear by radio that first person with COVID was diagnosed in Europe, and we were thinking, damn, will there be any home to come back to? I mean, it was serious. We did not know what is it. And then like almost year after this, like 9 months, I got a ticket from some railroad in Brussels that I crossed the limit of speed by 3 kilometers per hour or 2. Okay. So yeah, the beautiful memories come back, and yeah, we're still in the situation that we don't know when we're gonna play. Sad story.
Could be another year.
I hope not. Everybody's talking about events. Everybody's talking about vaccine. Vaccine is the English name for this, that you put, needle into your arm and then you're safe. Yeah, I hope. Everybody's talking about it. Like countries and the European Union are buying like millions and billions of it. So I hope it will at least help, keep.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about this. Okay, let's say a vaccine is made.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying that they're not going to shake anyone's hand anymore at a GP because they will now be more paranoid than ever about, some sort of contamination, and certainly maybe not everyone is going to take the vaccine, and, they could still spread germs. But my weird perspective on this is, like, how are you going to present your deck to get shuffled by your opponent and vice versa if you're that concerned about, germs?
Maybe just cutting. I mean, I did not.
Then you still have to touch it. You still have to touch the deck.
I mean, I don't think I have shaken hands like that. That often.
The way I look at it, it's the same thing. If you're not going to shake their hand, then that means you cannot touch their deck because it's the same issue.
But you're speaking about the vaccine and the fact we assume that people are going to the tournament and you will not shake hands because why? Because you're afraid that you're going to get infected by coronavirus. This is the case, or
no? It might be the other. It could also be no. You have the vaccine, but you are concerned that maybe someone else is still passing the virus, and then you touch it, and then you touch somebody else, and you're still going to basically spread contamination by accident. You're just trying to do it. You're doing it on the outlook of everyone else. I'm just saying.
I think we will find something out. For example, if you are afraid about this, I think there will be something. Okay, just wear gloves, and judges come and you cut your own deck after shuffling in front of a judge.
But here's the thing: I don't know if there'll be enough judges for that to happen.
But will you have any troubles with your opponent cutting your deck, or will you have any troubles with you cutting your own deck in front of your opponent and your opponent doing the same?
Maybe
I will not.
This might be a fine solution.
So, for example, I shuffle, and I don't want, for example, right now when we played like 2 months ago at FNM, I said, okay, so maybe, machine shufflers, or just ban fetches and nobody will shuffle. So, and I said, okay, is it fine if I cut? They say yes. I put on 4 different groups, and they say, is it fine if I put this one? Okay, he says no. For example, like do it crossly, and I think it's enough. And I know there are people that are cheating and will cheat anyway, but I think that after we come back, this will be right now we might think about this, but when we come back, this will not be an issue. I suppose we will figure something out. Well, I think that if my opponent shows me and shows, for example, this is my deck, and he tries to grab this part, is it enough for cut? I will say no, pick more. So he picks this, and I say okay, got it. That's it for me. I mean, I'm not assuming my opponent is cheating. So
I will if I don't know them very well, and if I look at their shuffling. I mean, there's a lot of cheaters out there.
Of course there is, but I'm just saying that I'm not like a huge fan of shaking hands and maybe I was eating something, maybe I will eat something in a second, maybe I will, I don't know. I'm
not against the non-shaking hands thing. If that's how they want to do it, that's fine. But I'm just curious, how are we going to approach if you're trying to not contaminate yourself because you're trying to create distance with your opponent? Okay, that's fine. But then how are we going to shuffle each other's decks? Like, what protocols are we going to have? Because even if you cut it, they could have still mana weave their deck, for example. And if you cut it, it's not sufficient enough. And at a GP at an FNM level or like local game store level, if there's like 80 people, sure, one person can have the judge come shuffle their deck. But
Yes.
if this is like a really common practice, then there aren't enough judges to shuffle everybody's deck constantly, because it most certainly doesn't work like that at a
So
GP.
for example, if you come at the GP, either price will be $1 higher, or you are you are forced to have slight white gloves. You shuffle your deck, you do your stuff, then you put gloves. You shuffle your opponent's decks, you hide gloves, something like this. You hide them in the string bag. So you just wear them only when you want to shuffle deck, and you put it in your string bag. Is this a solution good? I don't know. Is this better than anything else that we have thought about? Maybe. So smarter than me, people will think about it, because I think when they organize GPs, there are millions on the line. So I think they will come back to this. I hope, because Wizards are forcing Arena so much, Arena which I don't like. And I hope they will not abandon Paper Magic, because probably they can't from financial point of view.
They can't. And a lot of people, I don't like, it's so ridiculous. Even we're talking about this, we miss playing in person. We want to go to the GPs, this and that. And there are so many people who are just craving to get together with their friends. There is not a shot in hell Wizards would abandon Paper Magic and the massive demand for people to see each other in person. They've got practically this market cornered. It's something that Wizards of the Coast can market to that like most games can't. Like video games, basically you're more or less stuck at home. Sure, you could like bring your Switch if you like maybe the Nintendo Switch has become more portable and you can like play at a little bit more of a social level. But for the most part, like Hearthstone isn't like a social interactive game if you look at all the other trading card games, but Magic is, and it is to a significant level, and they're not going to abandon it. So there was a question for you.
For me?
Yes. I don't know if you talked about it. Was there any hope for Eldrazi Tron? What do you think about the deck on a competitive level and more in general?
About Eldrazi Tron?
Yes.
I have talked to my friend
back recently just to try.
I did not. I did not for a couple of reasons. I have seen my friend having good results. Arceus Dota with Eldrazi Tron, with some certain version without Chalice, without Reshaper, going into Grave Hate Mate, and so on. I had a problem because when I abandoned Eldrazi Tron, or when I stopped playing it, let's say, more politely, there was a problem because late game decks playing Lurus, Yorion, and so on just beat you hard. The second part of the meta game, like this is the end game. Always, Titans beat you always. The same story is with Green Tron, and the same story is with Yorion. And on the other hand, on the other part of the scale, you have very aggressive decks, and you used to beat aggressive decks basing on Chalice and Reshaper and so on. And when Lures got printed, probably there was, I think, either Lurus Shadow or some other stuff. But I remember I was playing a couple of times against Blue Red Prowess, being like one of the players in the metagame, and you counter their stuff with Chalice. It does nothing. They play turn 2 Entity, turn 2 Sprite Dragon, and they kill you in the air into shots. And without Tron, without very powerful hand, your Reshaper does nothing, your Chalice does nothing, and so on and so forth. So you have bad matchups at the early game and bad matchups in the late game. That's the problem. The second problem is that what it requires, new printings. The problem is that it got 4 very powerful cards, Card the Great Creator in War of the Spark, and Yugin the Spirit Dragon, and probably something else I don't remember right now. But what cards you want to play in Eldrazi Tron from the newest set, Zendikar? Nothing. Maybe Crawling Barrens, but it's weak. What you want to play from Core Set 21? Ugin the Spirit Dragon? Oh, Ugin the Ineffable is the one that I played. Ugin the Spirit Dragon? Not really. It was already there. From Ikoria? Nothing. From Theros? Nothing. It's a colorless deck, so it requires very special cards.
No, I got something. Hold on. What is it called? Maze Mines Tome.
Oh, Maze Mines Tome. Yeah. Which
we got
M21.
something.
Yeah, but that's the one I did not mention. The one that I forgot about. Yeah, this card is interesting. I don't like it. I don't think it's very good, but it's definitely an addition. So I think it needs like 1 or 2 more additions to the deck to help in early game, to help in the late game. Because the problem is how you deal with Uro when it resolves. You don't. 6/6 guy is a guy you don't deal with. And how you can manage maybe Karn and something, or maybe All is Dust. There is numerous of ways they can beat you. Force of Negation, the 0 mana one, and everything else beyond it. yeah. So in my opinion, the deck is just too weak because everybody else basically Tom of course is the newest. So everybody else got busted cards and Eldrazi did not. And this card is honestly it's quite weak.
Eldrazi didn't get any busted cards.
But it's like
no busted cards at all.
But this card is a year old. I'm talking about Ikoria, Zendikar, and so on.
It's still good. It's still good. It's a year old. It's still good.
It's still good, but if you count cards from War of the Spark, take a look at control deck. 3-4 copies of Small Teferi, 2-3 copies of Ashiok Dreamlander. This is only what comes to my mind in the case of Planeswalkers. So you have like 4-7 cards in Planeswalkers to control decks. Of course, Karn is good, but everybody else got something. And you have like, I don't know, Nif Mizzet in War of the Spark. What else you have out there? I don't remember what else. But definitely a bunch of powerful Planeswalkers. So of course, but this card is 1 year old. And in Theros, Ikoria, Zendikar, and so on, you get nothing. And this is the problem. That everything evolved fast, and Eldrazi got stuck in this old plan. And it doesn't. It's not powerful enough anymore, especially in the late game. That's just my opinion. I have seen spontaneous results of Eldrazi, but they are just spontaneous, just 1-2 results per month or two. It's
Merfolk's got nothing.
Merfolk's got something. Merfolk's got Force of Negation, very powerful card.
We got that. So that's for sure. We actually got quite a few cards. Brazen Borrower, Force of Negation, Waterlog Grove.
Yes, exactly.
I had not really complained big time.
Force of Negation.
We did get cards recently. Not anything. My only problem is we didn't get anything that we could leverage ourselves and no one else could. Like
everybody would like.
There are some more than one Karn the Great Creator deck, but like we're not the only Force of Negation out there.
Of course,
Force of Negation deck out there.
You are even not the only Glasspool Mimic deck. I have seen Glasspool.
I'm not the only Glasspool Mimic deck either.
Druid is not the only Veil of Summer deck, right? And not the only Lurus deck. So there is no deck. I don't think there is a single card that can be played only in one deck and will be played, because if it's powerful, then many shells will evolve around it. So you cannot count on this card. Maybe goblins, right? Probably tribals are the only one. And
do you have time to review? Sorry, do you have time to review a deck list?
Sure, go on.
All right. This is going a little bit long, but if you want to review a deck list by both myself, get a deck list reviewed by both myself and Laplasjan, go use the command !deck review. Give the URL to your deck list. Leave any comments for us. Let us know the format.
I have never reviewed the deck list on stream.
Get to review a deck list. That's right. So submit your deck list. Some people have already submitted them. We'll wait like 2 or 3 minutes to see what shows up in the queue, and then we'll pick one at random, because this has been a long stream, but very good stream. Very good discussion. A lot of fun. A lot of people love it when Laplasjan's on the show.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool to know. They are
maybe while people are submitting.
Okay, they know that I'm joking only about non-blue cards, right? Ban blue cards is not a joke. Okay, but I wanted to say one more thing. Even tribal cards can be like leveraged by other decks. You might think about tribal like goblins, of course. Conspicuous Snoop will not be played in other decks, but Thought-Knot Seer is somehow a tribal card. It is played in regular Tron, mono blue Tron, and so on. So
colorless tribal.
Colorless tribal is the most difficult one. And in Bant Eldrazi, it used to be a deck like decades ago.
Well, I mean, it got replaced by Eldrazi Tron mostly, almost overnight.
So. Who remembers Bant Eldrazi? Raise your hand. I see nobody. Yeah, I mean, we remember, but it's like, oh, this
I was there. I was there for Eldrazi Winter.
I was there when it was born and when it died. I remember its funeral.
Was it Eldrazi Mimic? I was there when they played like 3
Eldrazi
Mimics on turn 1.
And they kill you with Smasher.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Simian Spirit Guide.
This was a stupid time. Probably the most stupid out of all stupid times of Modern. Like even Hogak and Oko and other stuff.
I agree, because this in no ban Modern, this deck dominates.
But again, you had like the finals one was this against Miracles, but probably one of the best players, if not the best, was on Miracles. Brian Branduin, I think.
Yeah. So that's just one event. I know what event you're talking about.
Yeah. So if you take more pro players and they will spread across the galaxy picking different decks, maybe the results will be slightly different, but I believe this is the best one. And they have GT and some other broken stuff. Cloud
Well, they
Cost,
have Chalice, which is really important. Keeps Hypergenesis in check and all the 1 mana cards in check. Deathrite
Exactly.
Shaman.
Maybe even
Gitaxian Probe.
Infect with this,
Mental Misstep.
Blazing Shoal.
Blazing Shoal, yeah.
Yeah.
They have access to Dismember.
Probably they counter the metagame very good, because the more cards you have, the faster the metagame becomes, and you play Chalice and you are fast enough by yourself. So probably.
Oh, they're ridiculously fast. I mean, this Eye of Ugin is insane.
But can you believe
Again,
that?
lands.
And this was the time when I started play Company, because Company was the deck that somehow beat this Eldrazi with combo.
Yeah, you have some infinite.
Roots, if it loops with, and it won GP, actually broke the monopoly of Eldrazi to win GPs. Can you believe this? Right now, Company decks unplayable almost, and back then they beat the best deck that existed ever.
What's your take on the Heliod Company deck? I mean, this is like a pretty hot deck right now, and I would say it is undervalued online because you don't actually have infinite life.
That's for sure.
But in paper, this has got to be like an extra 5-7% stronger.
Yes. There are a couple of problems, because first problem for me is that infinite life is very bad online, because many decks win against it, and online you just cannot execute this combo. Second thing is that when I think of Druid and changing the deck, I think, okay, why I abandon Druid? Because I face Upsal spells and shadows. And for example, I take Titan. Why? Because I can beat Shadow and I beat, for example, Control or Jant. And with Heliod, the problem is that I don't feel that this deck against faster combo it's not good. Against Control deck, maybe it's fine, but I don't see this deck winning against Shadow as well. Maybe if you play many apparitions and Auric Champion, maybe you're fine. But this is not the direction I want to go to improve my bad matchups. I think that this, what are the good matchups? For sure Burn, for sure Prowess, maybe some linear late game strategies when you can really leverage the life combo. But this is not the case. I don't have problems with Druid in those matchups. I have a problem when I face Neoform, Upsal Spells, Belcher. How Heliod beat them? They don't, I think. So
it doesn't seem like so bad to be losing to Oops. I think, well, I mean, with some correct side, you may not even need to do anything against Oops, because the metagame will hate out a deck like that naturally. Like
maybe, but for now,
I mean, how much Oops was in the last two Modern challenges? You know,
too much, but I don't know how many. But too much. What I wanted to say also is that, do you beat Red, Black, Shadow? This is my key question. Do you? I don't think so. But I don't know.
It's like the classic question: can you beat Jund? And like sometimes you just don't beat Jund.
But I mean in average, in percent, because I have like 10 or 15 or maybe 20% tops against Shadow with Druid. How much? Okay. How many?
You have a very specific type of deck though. Like this is not a normal creature deck. You have it's like super hyper regenerative creature combo. It dies, you bring it back from the graveyard. You get Lurrus, you get it back. I mean, this is a very unusual creature-based deck.
Yes, this is very strange combo. But what I wanted to say is that, what is the reason to abandon Druid? Because I need to fight my bad matchups. And does Heliod help my bad matchups? I think he doesn't.
Okay. Gotcha.
So that's why
you have a good perspective on this, because you have a very it has a lot of similarities.
But
in that.
Definitely
it's a green-white creature combo deck.
It's strange for me not to play Company when probably it's good, and probably for people to see that I'm not playing Company when it's good. But somehow I still think that Company, especially in maybe it's combo, so maybe it's different. Company is not as good as it used to be as a late game card. When you put Knight of the Reliquary or I don't know, Eternal Witness, Sphinx, and Tracker like a half year or a year ago, it was very good. Right now, your opponent just has Uro, Omnat, and so on. You do nothing with those. So the combo aspect for sure helps, but people hate creatures right now, and they're hating small creatures even more with Lava Dart, Ren in control decks, push Red Black Shadow as a whole deck, and I don't see how this deck is getting good against like Lava Dart metagame or Ren metagame. So this is my
they hedge a little bit because you play the Utopia Sprawl.
Yeah, of course, but then you diminish your chances of hitting good with Company. So I see a couple of problems, but I'm on a different moment right now. I'm trying to fight Control, and I don't know whether this deck is the best. And believe me, I have clicked through Infinite Life already enough times on MTG to do it again. I played the Kitchen Things Melira Viscera Seer Anafenza combo.
That is ridiculous to
Believe
click
me,
through.
I clicked like 220 life once, passed the turn, and my opponent casted Genesis Wave on 17, and I need to gain more life to survive. And I say enough for infinite life for me right now. Maybe soon.
All right, it's that time. Let's go see what we get. Who gets chosen? P. Diddy's deck list has been chosen. No comments, no nothing. Let's see what's up. Oh,
Okay.
it might be something in your wheelhouse. Vizier Nightfall.
Vizier Nightfall. Oh, jeez, I remember Nightfall with Retreat to Coral Helm. This was a hell of a combo. If you want,
it is actually playing it. I didn't think it was, but it is.
Combo to FNM, this is the worst pick ever because there's 0% chance you will explain to your opponent how this combo performs, and he will say, "Okay, I scoop." They will say, "I don't get this."
Yeah, do it. Play it out.
Yeah, and my colleague was putting scries on the stack, shuffling the deck. It was like madness. And I need to say hello to Damian because he did not hear it last time. So this Cactus of Smoke. So he thinks that I did not.
Hello, Cactus of Smoke.
He's
here every day. He's here, and I guess he watches you play in person, play the challenges.
Yes. Repeat one more time.
He's there with you when you play the challenges.
Yes, we used to play together on weekends. Heliod combo is a turn 3 combo, of course. Devoted Druid is turn 3 combo more often and more resilient turn 3. And still, I have a very bad oops matchup. Okay, so can you put this deck list because I did not take a look.
Okay, just saying, using Retreat to Coralhelm Knight as a bomb. Plan B with infinite walking ballista damage with Vizier. Devoted combo considerations. Use Arbor Elf and Utopia Spell instead of the Birds of Paradise and Noble Hierarchs. How many Coralhelms? How many Giver of Runes? Use Reflector Major Spell Queller. Use Voice or Resurgence. Okay, so I think, whatever you're asking, Remand, Manali, Ghost Quarter, Aladdin Reese Call, Path to Exile. Cyborg considerations. Okay, let's first look at the deck list.
Yeah. What do we have?
One walking ballista.
Yeah. So first of all, first problem that I see, and I'm very touchy on this point. You play 4 company, and you have 27 creatures, but you have 1 Shalai and 1 Ballista. What makes you have 25 creatures that can enter the battlefield from company? Right. That's not too much. If you calculate this, that's around 70% of chance of hitting 2 creatures. But you have around maybe I'm wrong, but 20, 30 or something like this that you hit 1 or 0. And this is a real problem. The second problem is that sadly Knight of the Reliquary is bad because it's very good when it is ramping or taking some good lands in Legacy or when it fights Tron with some various cards. And Tron is bad right now, and the guy that dies to everything and gets bounced by Teferi and so on is probably just bad. You invest a lot and the guy does not have too much because it searches for land, and what bombs you have as lands? Not many, sadly, not many. This card used to be very good. Right now, I'm not sure it's that good anymore.
Basically, Elvish Reclaimer has taken its spot as the tutor land, tutoring creature.
Yeah, it's more. I mean, this card costs 3, and Elvish Reclaimer costs 1 + 2 for activation. But you sacrifice any land, not the plains, so you can sacrifice Flagstones. What makes you ramping, not using lands. And it comes on turn 1 and it can be a 3/4, so that's why it's more powerful.
Flagstones of plains?
What? No, he sacrifices any land. Flagstones is.
Oh, it's just okay. For some reason, I thought, or maybe I read a comment.
This is the other
internet
one.
That it's like a virtual plains or something.
Mistveil Plains is a plains. The other utility white land. The other problem is that you have all the combos. I mean, Ballista combo, Shalai combo, Druid combo, and Knight.
But I'm guessing this particular player wants this is playing this deck for the combo. So I mean, this has to be in the deck. So how do we build? How do we make this the best Retreat to Coralhelm possible deck?
I don't think you can play Utopia Sprawl because you need plenty of forests and you are playing Band. So you need
what did you say?
Utopia Sprawl needs forest. So you should not play it because you need plenty on non-forest lands, I think. If you play, for example,
I didn't hear what you're saying. Which card? Do you need a card?
Utopia Sprawl.
Oh, Utopia Sprawl. Okay.
Yeah, because you play double white Skycliff Apparition, and you play double green Finale, and you play Retreat as a blue. So it would be probably too risky to fetch for a basic forest, or get it fielded, or get it Blood Moon, and Utopia is down. So I think that you can safely play Utopia Scroll only if you play a ton of basic forest, and it does not suffer from this, your deck. So yeah.
But then if we play Utopia Sprawl, I mean, we're just like reducing. There aren't any Utopia Sprawl even in this deck right now.
And if we play Utopia Sprawl, we are reducing creature count. So we need to cut something else.
But maybe we don't need company. I mean, is company necessary? Like,
I mean,
maybe Ladamri's Call is just better for this type of deck.
But company is the best when you use it the most. So when you play powerful 3-drops, and Knight of the Reliquary and Skycliff Apparitions are like very powerful. Like besides Things, Witness, and maybe Tracker are the best 3-drop creatures in green-white. So if you want to leverage this, probably company is good. But the key question is we play one Ballista out there.
Is this deck playing too many combos, or is it fine jamming? I mean, I can understand the infinite mana combo in here. That's usually this is jammed in like a lot of different archetypes devoted.
Yeah, and the problem is that actually you have 2 finishers for your Knight combo, Retreat, and you don't have any option to search for it. And the same stories with similar stories with Druid. You have Duskwatch, Shalai, and Ballista, and you have 4 Finales and 4 Companions. So you much more support combo for Druid, not combo for Retreat. So and you honestly you don't have any option to search for Retreat. So your Knight actually is a mid-range creature, value creature, utility, sometimes comboing, but very rarely. So this is the question: whether you really want it, or you want to go more for Knight of the Reliquary, taking more retreats.
Deep Pity actually has a Utopia Sprawl version. Maybe let's see if this version makes more sense or less sense. So we still have Retreat to Coral Helm, still collecting company, but now we're way lower on creatures. And Blocking Ballista, of course, isn't even a creature.
Yeah, 22 creatures. So this is
a bad hit.
Yeah, and this is a bad hit, and Giver of Roses is fine. So honestly, you have and you cannot hit second Heliod. It's awful. So honestly, you have, let's say, around 18 to 20 hits that you want actually. That's not much. This might be already too random.
Then maybe you don't run Collected Company in this deck.
Might be, and if you don't, then you might go for more Eladam recalls, or just more creatures that support your basic game plan, like Ariok Champions. Why we deviate from Heliod? Because we want this Coral Helm combo with Knight.
We're trying as hard as we can to make this Coral Helm combo work.
I don't recognize right now. Are there any creatures that search for enchantment in Modern?
Are there what?
Creatures that search for enchantments.
No, because
can we tutor Retreat? There is Idyllic Tutor that searches for enchantment, but this is very bad.
That's the only tutor that I'm familiar with that is even remotely playable. I think you just have to incidentally draw into this by accident or something.
Yeah, might be. But for sure, then what I think you should do is maximize your chances of doing it on turn 3. So probably one more Retreat, maybe 2, and play as many fetches as possible and as many 1-drops as possible to play Knight turn 2 as a 4/4 unboltable, and just keep your opponent in check. Okay, I can combo next turn. What you gonna do? So probably if you want, high
4/4 creature turn 2 is not bad still.
It's not definitely when Bolt is powerful, but sadly, it's getting outsized very fast by Shadow and Scorch. Yeah.
Says, I want to play Knight of the Reliquary. What deck can make it work? Probably this is your best shot.
Give Green-White Value Town. Do you remember such deck? By Todd Stevens on SCG.
Yes, I remember.
Tracker, Ballista, Cursor of Crufix. Jesus, it was a slaughter. This deck.
That creature, that expedition.
Azusa, Ramunap Excavator.
Ramunap Excavator or whatever.
It was a slaughter. Somebody said that you need to love this deck to play it, because you lose in 5 seconds against Affinity or combo, and to win it takes you 20 minutes. Play this land, gain a bit advantage here, gain there, search for a land, shuffle library, reveal with cursor, gain life, put a clue, draw a card. It was madness. Azusa played double land from graveyard. It was madness. But the best land to utilize this,
Maybe this deck can come back. Maybe everyone just forgot about this. I mean, with the format is so based around lands right now, I have no idea how it would interact with the Uro deck, but certainly
the problem is it just probably, Tracker used to be a very powerful late game engine. I played it in company and fight mid-range and combo and control decks with it. The problem is that it stopped because it's just too. You can't play it on turn 3 because you have 3 mana. You want to play fetch land already. The second problem is that it used to get punished by the most played cards in the format. Small Teferi bouncing your tracker if you play it without clues, or bouncing your clues makes you pay a lot for what you have done, for the sins, and Card the Great Creator punishes clues a lot. So this is the problem that metagame is such right now. And if you play it on turn 3 and your opponent is attacking with like 2-3 prowess creatures, you're probably not going out of this exchange too good. So that's the problem. Maybe some Naya deck with some Bloodbraid Elves. Maybe this way. If you want to play Knight of the Reliquary, maybe try to go for big Knight early. Maybe Classic Wolfront. Maybe some I don't know, Bloodbraid Elf. Maybe Red Green Eldrazi, something like that. Something similar. Hard to think. There is definitely a reason that nobody is playing Knight right now, because it's not powerful enough. It does not do anything on ETB, and on the other side you have Uro that is doing everything on ETB for the same amount of mana. That's the problem.
Maybe throw it in the green-white Titan deck. It's just a random support card if you really want to play this card.
You might. The problem is that it fulfills the same role as Elvish Reclaimer, but it does not sacrifice Flagstone. Yeah, but you don't sacrifice Flagstones with Knight, and that's the problem, because this is your basic way of ramping. But it might be interesting. One more way to get some nasty
I'm just
lands.
trying to find out what shell can you just throw a Knight of the Reliquary and it would still be pretty decent.
I'm thinking too, maybe.
And you filled the graveyard with a bunch of lands anyway.
Maybe green-white Hatebears. It's a problem when you play cards like Leonin Arbiter in the same deck when Knight of the Reliquary, but maybe deck like Flickery, Knight of the Reliquary, Voice of Resurgence. I don't know if you can attack the metagame this way, but it feels much more consistent. If you don't go for the combo, you can play there is a plenty of green-white hate good cards like Thalia, Stoneforge Mystic, Knight of the Reliquary, Ramunap. You attack the graveyard, you attack the mana base with Knight and Field of Ruin and so on, and you play Stoneforge Mystic package and Eternal Witness for value. Maybe this way.
Yep. All right, I hope that was some useful feedback. Out of these two deck lists, which one would you prefer?
Me?
Yes. If he had to go in one of these directions?
So I would
the one with the mana dorks, or the one with the Utopia Sprawl?
The one that uses company the better, because 22 creatures with company is in my opinion just not good, high enough. Not high count. I was
the point of the deck, for anyone who doesn't know, is retreat to Coralhelm. Now the Reliquary, you sacrifice a forest or plains. You look through your library for a land. Comes into play. Retreat to Coralhelm says when a landfall enters the battlefield under your control, you may tap or untap target creature, or you could scry one, but you just untap the Reliquary a million times until it's this obscenely large creature, because there's so many lands in your graveyard.
And you make a bunch of mana and pump it with Kisik Welfrun to
yes. Where's Keswick Wolfrun? Give it trample. Keswick Wolfrun.
Yeah.
Boom. All right, Laplasjan, that was fantastic. If people want to find you more, where can they find you, Laplasjan?
They can find me on Twitter. They can find me on Cardnock Live partially. They can find me on Facebook. Twitter will be the easiest one.
Google Laplasjan. There aren't many Laplasjans out there. I think you're the only Laplasjan out there.
I hope so. Laplasjan MTGO, yeah. On Twitter, you can always.
Are you doing any more streaming? You have.
I used to, but right now we have some, school at home and the work at home, so it's kind of difficult, and so we have to divide internet into 3 persons and space into 3 persons. So it's a bit.
Do you have any content on your Patreon? I know you have a Patreon.
Definitely, I do. There is an update of my deck list of sideboard guide. There is article at least once per 2 weeks. Sadly, I cannot stream right now, but I hope I will do it sometime.
So what are you doing on
in the
Patreon right
future.
now? What
Yes,
if people subscribe to you? What can they find? Oh, the devoted, the Birds of Paradise level, the Giver of Runes.
Yeah, they can find definitely, like, if you enter, I'm always hesitating to put too much content, because if you enter right now, you might just get, flooded with content, because there is a content for like from 3 or 4 months. So there's like 10, 14 articles about Druid. So
it's better than nothing.
Yeah. But I mean, you might feel lost. So I try to like squeeze everything in the last article possible. So if you enter the last article possible, so you find there my current deck list, my current sideboarding strategies for the most popular decks. If you want to go deeper for the other decks, you need to dig deeper into the history of this. Yeah, there are definitely plenty of things, and you can always, like, everybody who talked to me on MTGO or Twitter or Patreon can say that if I only spot that there is some message unread, I will read it and answer. So definitely, if you have any questions, you can shoot me with them.
Go for it. Maybe one last question. Where does Laplasjan come from?
Laplasjan come from Laplace operator from mathematics, so the differential operator of second order. I was tired one day of picking names for like online games, and everyone was like, Wojtek is taken, Wojtek 123 is taken, I need Wojtek 1234 dot something. So I said, okay, I will pick something that is never taken, and mathematics. From mathematics expressions are not taken because nobody knows math.
Yeah,
so this is from Laplace operator, and this is like just the Polish letters, because this is Laplasjan, probably in English. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, interesting. Very unique. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope everyone enjoyed Laplasjan's visit. Of course, he'll be back again. And if you want to follow him, make sure to follow him. You can follow him on Twitter, Card Knock Life, Patreon. It was great having you here.
Thanks a lot for an invitation. I hope you had a great time. You and
I think everyone loved it. All right, so I think I only see Aspiring Spike live, so we'll rate him after the show. But again, thank you very much, Laplasjan, for showing up. It was a great. We had a great conversation. Of course, you have a lot of opinions about cards that need to be yeeted out of the modern format.
Definitely. I mean, we had just a little 2.5 hour chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Short,
just a little 2.5 hour chat, but a very good one.
Yeah, I need to buy new headphones because my ears are burning. So that's a good moment to finish it, probably.
So anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for showing up. This has been Nikachu and Laplasjan talking about the state of modern, and I'll see you guys. Yeah, I'll see you at the next cup. Take care. See you next time.